You still texting?
Busy. Where we at?
County morgue?
Not on my schedule.
You scheduled it when you T-boned that minivan and sent 2 people to the hospital. Guess you was paying more attention to that thing than the road.
Making sure my wife picks up my suit.
Sounds like a text message that just couldn't wait.
Texting and driving. A killer combination.
Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything. Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything.
You still texting?
I gotta let daycare know that I'm running late. They charge if you're late. And I'm not usually one of those people to text and drive, and I was almost done with my text when that car came out of nowhere.
You still veered in oncoming traffic. And that text message, it never got through.
One text or call could wreck it all.
Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything.
You still texting?
Is this a real morgue?
Yep.
Shut up. Like with real dead people. Ooh, I gotta text Ashley.
Ashley identified you when you wrapped your car around that light pole because you was caring more about that thing than the road.
I knew she liked me.
Not anymore.
No text message is worth a life.
Over 90 miles of creeks run through Santa Rosa. Runoff from streets, roofs, and parking lots end up in our creeks through the storm drain system. To help protect creeks, keep your street gutters and roadside ditches clear of trash and other pollutants. For more information on the benefits of our creeks and tips on how to enjoy them, visit the Stormwater and Creeks webpage.
You still texting?
Busy. Where we at?
County morgue?
Not on my schedule.
You scheduled it when you T-boned that minivan and sent 2 people to the hospital. Guess you was paying more attention to that thing than the road.
Making sure my wife picks up my suit.
Sounds like a text message that just couldn't wait.
Texting and driving. A killer combination.
Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything. Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything.
You still texting?
I gotta let daycare know that I'm running late. They charge if you're late. And I'm not usually one of those people to text and drive, and I was almost done with my text when that car came out of nowhere.
You still veered in oncoming traffic. And that text message, it never got through.
One text or call could wreck it all.
Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything.
You still texting?
Is this a real morgue?
Yep.
Shut up. Like with real dead people. Ooh, I gotta text Ashley.
Ashley identified you when you wrapped your car around that light pole because you was caring more about that thing than the road.
I knew she liked me.
Not anymore.
No text message is worth a life.
Over 90 miles of creeks run through Santa Rosa. Runoff from streets, roofs, and parking lots end up in our creeks through the storm drain system. To help protect creeks, keep your street gutters and roadside ditches clear of trash and other pollutants. For more information on the benefits of our creeks and tips on how to enjoy them, visit the Stormwater and Creeks webpage.
You still texting?
Busy. Where we at?
County morgue?
Not on my schedule.
You scheduled it when you T-boned that minivan and sent 2 people to the hospital. Guess you was paying more attention to that thing than the road.
Making sure my wife picks up my suit.
Sounds like a text message that just couldn't wait.
Texting and driving. A killer combination.
Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything. Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything.
You still texting?
I gotta let daycare know that I'm running late. They charge if you're late. And I'm not usually one of those people to text and drive, and I was almost done with my text when that car came out of nowhere.
You still veered in oncoming traffic. And that text message, it never got through.
One text or call could wreck it all.
out there in the middle of everything.
You still texting?
Is this a real morgue?
Yep.
Shut up. Like with real dead people. Ooh, I gotta text Ashley.
Ashley identified you when you wrapped your car around that light pole because you was caring more about that thing than the road.
I knew she liked me.
Not anymore.
No text message is worth a life.
Over 90 miles of creeks run through Santa Rosa. Runoff from streets, roofs, and parking lots end up in our creeks through the storm drain system. To help protect creeks, keep your street gutters and roadside ditches clear of trash and other pollutants. For more information on the benefits of our creeks and tips on how to enjoy them, visit the Stormwater and Creeks webpage.
You still texting?
Busy. Where we at?
County morgue?
Not on my schedule.
You scheduled it when you T-boned that minivan and sent 2 people to the hospital. Guess she was paying more attention to that thing than the road.
Making sure my wife picks up my suit.
Sounds like a text message that just couldn't wait.
Texting and driving. A killer combination.
Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything. Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything.
You still texting?
I gotta let daycare know that I'm running late. They charge if you're late. And I'm not usually one of those people to text and drive, and I was almost done with my text when that car came out of nowhere.
You still veered in oncoming traffic. And that text message, it never got through.
One text or call could wreck it all.
Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything.
You still texting?
Is this a real morgue?
Yep.
Shut up. Like with real dead people. Ooh, I gotta text Ashley.
Ashley identified you when you wrapped your car around that light pole because you was caring more about that thing than the road.
I knew she liked me.
Not anymore.
No text message is worth a life.
Over 90 miles of creeks run through Santa Rosa. Runoff from streets, roofs, and parking lots end up in our creeks through the storm drain system. To help protect creeks, keep your street gutters and roadside ditches clear of trash and other pollutants. For more information on the benefits of our creeks and tips on how to enjoy them, visit the Stormwater and Creeks webpage.
You still texting?
Busy. Where we at?
County morgue?
Not on my schedule.
You scheduled it when you T-boned that minivan and sent 2 people to the hospital. Guess you was paying more attention to that thing than the road.
Making sure my wife picks up my suit.
Sounds like a text message that just couldn't wait.
Texting and driving. A killer combination.
Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything. Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything.
You still texting?
I gotta let daycare know that I'm running late. They charge if you're late. And I'm not usually one of those people to text and drive, and I was almost done with my text when that car came out of nowhere.
You still veered in oncoming traffic. And that text message, it never got through.
One text or call could wreck it all.
Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything.
You still texting?
Is this a real morgue?
Yep.
Shut up. Like with real dead people. Ooh, I gotta text Ashley.
Ashley identified you when you wrapped your car around that light pole because you was caring more about that thing than the road.
I knew she liked me.
Not anymore.
No text message is worth a life.
Over 90 miles of creeks run through Santa Rosa. Runoff from streets, roofs, and parking lots end up in our creeks through the storm drain system. To help protect creeks, keep your street gutters and roadside ditches clear of trash and other pollutants. For more information on the benefits of our creeks and tips on how to enjoy them, visit the Stormwater and Creeks webpage.
You still texting?
Busy. Where we at?
County morgue?
Not on my schedule.
You scheduled it when you T-boned that minivan and sent 2 people to the hospital. Guess you was paying more attention to that thing than the road.
Making sure my wife picks up my suit.
Sounds like a text message that just couldn't wait.
Texting and driving. A killer combination.
Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything. Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything.
You still texting?
I gotta let daycare know that I'm running late. They charge if you're late. And I'm not usually one of those people to text and drive, and I was almost done with my text when that car came out of nowhere.
You still veered in oncoming traffic. And that text message, it never got through.
One text or call could wreck it all.
Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything.
You still texting?
Is this a real morgue?
Yep.
Shut up. Like with real dead people. Ooh, I gotta text Ashley.
Ashley identified you when you wrapped your car around that light pole, because you was caring more about that thing than the road.
I knew she liked me.
Not anymore.
No text message is worth a life.
Over 90 miles of creeks run through Santa Rosa. Runoff from streets, roofs, and parking lots end up in our creeks through the storm drain system. To help protect creeks, keep your street gutters and roadside ditches clear of trash and other pollutants. For more information on the benefits of our creeks and tips on how to enjoy them, visit the Stormwater and Creeks webpage.
You still texting?
Busy. Where we at?
County morgue?
Not on my schedule.
You scheduled it when you T-boned that minivan and sent 2 people to the hospital. Guess you was paying more attention to that thing than the road.
Making sure my wife picks up my suit.
Sounds like a text message that just couldn't wait.
Texting and driving. A killer combination.
Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything. Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything.
You still texting?
I gotta let daycare know that I'm running late. They charge if you're late. And I'm not usually one of those people to text and drive, and I was almost done with my text when that car came out of nowhere.
You still veered in oncoming traffic. And that text message, it never got through.
One text or call could wreck it all.
Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything.
You still texting?
Is this a real morgue?
Yep.
Shut up. Like with real dead people. Ooh, I gotta text Ashley.
Ashley identified you when you wrapped your car around that light pole, because you was caring more about that thing than the road.
I knew she liked me.
Not anymore.
No text message is worth a life.
Over 90 miles of creeks run through Santa Rosa. Runoff from streets, roofs, and parking lots end up in our creeks through the storm drain system. To help protect creeks, keep your street gutters and roadside ditches clear of trash and other pollutants. For more information on the benefits of our creeks and tips on how to enjoy them, visit the Stormwater and Creeks webpage.
You still texting?
Busy. Where we at?
County morgue?
Not on my schedule.
You scheduled it when you T-boned that minivan and sent 2 people to the hospital. Guess you was paying more attention to that thing than the road.
Making sure my wife picks up my suit.
Sounds like a text message that just couldn't wait.
Texting and driving. A killer combination.
Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything. Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything.
You still texting?
I gotta let daycare know that I'm running late. They charge if you're late. And I'm not usually one of those people to text and drive, and I was almost done with my text when that car came out of nowhere.
You still veered in oncoming traffic. And that text message, it never got through.
One text or call could wreck it all.
Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything.
You still texting?
Is this a real morgue?
Yep.
Shut up. Like with real dead people. Ooh, I gotta text Ashley.
Ashley identified you when you wrapped your car around that light pole because you was caring more about that thing than the road.
I knew she liked me.
Not anymore.
No text message is worth a life.
Over 90 miles of creeks run through Santa Rosa. Runoff from streets, roofs, and parking lots end up in our creeks through the storm drain system. To help protect creeks, keep your street gutters and roadside ditches clear of trash and other pollutants. For more information on the benefits of our creeks and tips on how to enjoy them, visit the Stormwater and Creeks webpage.
You still texting?
Busy. Where we at?
County morgue?
Not on my schedule.
You scheduled it when you T-boned that minivan and sent two people to the hospital. Guess you was paying more attention to that thing than the road.
Making sure my wife picks up my suit.
Sounds like a text message that just couldn't wait.
Texting and driving. A killer combination.
Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything. Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything.
You still texting?
I gotta let daycare know that I'm running late. They charge if you're late. And I'm not usually one of those people to text and drive, and I was almost done with my text when that car came out of nowhere.
You still veered in oncoming traffic. And that text message, it never got through.
One text or call could wreck it all.
Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything.
You still texting?
Is this a real morgue?
Yep.
Shut up. Like with real dead people. Ooh, I gotta text Ashley.
Ashley identified you when you wrapped your car around that light pole because you was caring more about that thing than the road.
I knew she liked me.
Not anymore.
No text message is worth a life.
Over 90 miles of creeks run through Santa Rosa. Runoff from streets, roofs, and parking lots end up in our creeks through the storm drain system. To help protect creeks, keep your street gutters and roadside ditches clear of trash and other pollutants. For more information on the benefits of our creeks and tips on how to enjoy them, visit the Stormwater and Creeks webpage.
You still texting?
Busy. Where we at?
County morgue?
Not on my schedule.
You scheduled it when you T-boned that minivan and sent two people to the hospital. Guess you was paying more attention to that thing than the road.
Making sure my wife picks up my suit.
Sounds like a text message that just couldn't wait.
Texting and driving. A killer combination.
Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything. Santa Rosa, out. Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything.
You still texting?
I gotta let daycare know that I'm running late. They charge if you're late. And I'm not usually one of those people to text and drive, and I was almost done with my text when that car came out of nowhere.
You still veered in oncoming traffic. And that text message, it never got through.
One text or call could wreck it all.
Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything.
You still texting?
Is this a real morgue?
Yep.
Shut up. Like with real dead people. Ooh, I gotta text Ashley.
Ashley identified you when you wrapped your car around that light pole because you was caring more about that thing than the road.
I knew she liked me.
Not anymore.
No text message is worth a life.
Over 90 miles of creeks run through Santa Rosa. Runoff from streets, roofs, and parking lots end up in our creeks through the storm drain system. To help protect creeks, keep your street gutters and roadside ditches clear of trash and other pollutants. For more information on the benefits of our creeks and tips on how to enjoy them, visit the Stormwater and Creeks webpage.
In recreation and parks, the days begin when the sun rises. Most of our workspaces don't have four walls or a desk, but there's a lot to be done to get this place up and running. It takes a big team to cover so much ground. Each space is unique, requiring its own special method of care and service. And it's of utmost importance to see that it happens each day, because our workspace is your leisure space. And it includes 950 acres of Santa Rosa. It's the parks, the trees, the fields, the trails, special gathering places, community spaces, and it belongs to everyone.
We work for our community,
striving to improve quality of life.
We provide family experiences, friendly competitions, leisurely evenings,
and places to bond with man's best friend.
We create space for celebration, relaxation, and artistic expression.
You can learn to serve a ball or learn to serve a meal.
Take a walk on a path or walk the plank.
We've got beautiful settings, space to show off our history.
We have room to roam, to roll, or to run.
We allow for the silly, the serious, the cool.
We offer countless ways to work on your health.
We keep our youth safe and teach them to keep others safe.
We challenge people to want to challenge themselves.
We foster creativity, guide athletes, hone passions.
We allow for little minds to dream.
And we'll keep doing what we do each day.
Because we know that for our community,
parks make life better.
You still texting?
Busy. Where we at?
County morgue?
Not on my schedule.
You scheduled it when you T-boned that minivan and sent 2 people to the hospital. Guess you was paying more attention to that thing than the road.
Making sure my wife picks up my suit.
Sounds like a text message that just couldn't wait.
Texting and driving. A killer combination.
Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything. Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything.
You still texting?
Well, I gotta let daycare know that I'm running late. They charge if you're late. And I'm not usually one of those people to text and drive, and I was almost done with my text when that car came out of nowhere.
You still appeared in oncoming traffic. And that text message, it never got through.
One text or call could wreck it all.
Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything.
You still texting?
Is this a real morgue?
Yep.
Shut up. Like with real dead people. Ooh, I gotta text Ashley.
Ashley identified you when you wrapped your car around that light pole because you was caring more about that thing than the road.
I knew she liked me.
Not anymore.
No text message is worth a life.
Over 90 miles of creeks run through Santa Rosa. Runoff from streets, roofs, and parking lots end up in our creeks through the storm drain system. To help protect creeks, keep your street gutters and roadside ditches clear of trash and other pollutants. For more information on the benefits of our creeks and tips on how to enjoy them, visit the Stormwater and Creeks webpage.
You still texting?
Busy. Where we at?
County morgue?
Not on my schedule.
You scheduled it when you T-boned that minivan and sent 2 people to the hospital. Guess you was paying more attention to that thing than the road.
Making sure my wife picks up my suit.
Sounds like a text message that just couldn't wait.
Texting and driving. A killer combination.
Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything. Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything.
In recreation and parks, the days begin when the sun rises. Most of our workspaces don't have 4 walls or a desk, but there's a lot to be done to get this place up and running. It takes a big team to cover so much ground. Each space is unique, requiring its own special method of care and service. And it's of utmost importance to see that it happens each day, because our workspace is your leisure space. And it includes 950 acres of Santa Rosa. It's the parks, the trees, the fields, the trails, special gathering places, community spaces, and it belongs to everyone.
We work for our community.
Striving to improve quality of life.
We provide family experiences, friendly competitions, leisurely evenings,
and places to bond with man's best friend.
We create space for celebration, relaxation, and artistic expression.
You can learn to serve a ball or learn to serve a meal.
Take a walk on a path or walk the plank.
We've got beautiful settings, space to show off our history.
We have room to roam, to roll, or to run.
We allow for the silly, the serious, the cool.
We offer countless ways to work on your health.
We keep our youth safe and teach them to keep others safe.
We challenge people to want to challenge themselves.
We foster creativity, guide athletes, hone passions.
We allow for little minds to dream.
And we'll keep doing what we do each day.
Because we know that for our community,
Parks make life better.
You still texting?
I gotta let daycare know that I'm running late. They charge if you're late. And I'm not usually one of those people to text and drive, and I was almost done with my text when that car came out of nowhere.
You still veered in oncoming traffic. And that text message, it never got through.
One text or call could wreck it all.
Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything.
You still texting?
Is this a real morgue?
Yep.
Shut up. Like with real dead people. Ooh, I gotta text Ashley.
Ashley identified you when you wrapped your car around that light pole because you was caring more about that thing than the road.
I knew she liked me.
Not anymore.
No text message is worth a life.
Over 90 miles of creeks run through Santa Rosa. Runoff from streets, roofs, and parking lots end up in our creeks through the storm drain system. To help protect creeks, keep your street gutters and roadside ditches clear of trash and other pollutants. For more information on the benefits of our creeks and tips on how to enjoy them, visit the Stormwater and Creeks webpage.
You still texting?
Busy. Where we at?
County morgue?
Not on my schedule.
You scheduled it when you T-boned that minivan and sent 2 people to the hospital. Guess you was paying more attention to that thing than the road.
Making sure my wife picks up my suit.
Sounds like a text message that just couldn't wait.
Texting and driving. A killer combination.
Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything. Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything.
In recreation and parks, the days begin when the sun rises. Most of our workspaces don't have 4 walls or a desk, but there's a lot to be done to get this place up and running. It takes a big team to cover so much ground. Each space is unique, requiring its own special method of care and service. And it's of utmost importance to see that it happens each day, because our workspace is your leisure space. And it includes 950 acres of Santa Rosa. It's the parks, the trees, the fields, the trails, special gathering places, community spaces, and it belongs to everyone.
We work for our community.
Striving to improve quality of life.
We provide family experiences, friendly competitions, leisurely evenings,
and places to bond with man's best friend.
We create space for celebration, relaxation, and artistic expression.
You can learn to serve a ball or learn to serve a meal.
Take a walk on a path or walk the plank.
We've got beautiful settings, space to show off our history.
We have room to roam, to roll, or to run.
We allow for the silly, the serious, the cool.
We offer countless ways to work on your health.
We keep our youth safe and teach them to keep others safe.
We challenge people to want to challenge themselves.
We foster creativity, guide athletes, hone passions.
We allow for little minds to dream.
And we'll keep doing what we do each day.
Because we know that for our community,
Parks make life better.
You still texting?
I gotta let daycare know that I'm running late. They charge if you're late. And I'm not usually one of those people to text and drive, and I was almost done with my text when that car came out of nowhere.
You still veered in oncoming traffic. And that text message, it never got through.
One text or call could wreck it all.
Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything.
You still texting?
Is this a real morgue?
Yep.
Shut up. Like with real dead people. Ooh, I gotta text Ashley.
Ashley identified you when you wrapped your car around that light pole, because you was caring more about that thing than the road.
I knew she liked me.
Not anymore.
No text message is worth a life.
Over 90 miles of creeks run through Santa Rosa. Runoff from streets, roofs, and parking lots end up in our creeks through the storm drain system. To help protect creeks, keep your street gutters and roadside ditches clear of trash and other pollutants. For more information on the benefits of our creeks and tips on how to enjoy them, visit the Stormwater and Creeks webpage.
You still texting?
Busy. Where we at?
County morgue?
Not on my schedule.
You scheduled it when you T-boned that minivan and sent 2 people to the hospital. Guess you was paying more attention to that thing than the road.
Making sure my wife picks up my suit.
Sounds like a text message that just couldn't wait.
Texting and driving. A killer combination.
Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything. Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything.
In recreation and parks, the days begin when the sun rises. Most of our workspaces don't have 4 walls or a desk, but there's a lot to be done to get this place up and running. It takes a big team to cover so much ground. Each space is unique, requiring its own special method of care and service. And it's of utmost importance to see that it happens each day, because our workspace is your leisure space. And it includes 950 acres of Santa Rosa. It's the parks, the trees, the fields, the trails, special gathering places, community spaces, and it belongs to everyone.
We work for our community,
striving to improve quality of life.
We provide family experiences, friendly competitions, leisurely evenings,
and places to bond with man's best friend.
We create space for celebration, relaxation, and artistic expression.
You can learn to serve a ball or learn to serve a meal.
Take a walk on a path or walk the plank.
We've got beautiful settings, space to show off our history.
We have room to roam, to roll, or to run.
We allow for the silly, the serious, the cool.
We offer countless ways to work on your health.
We keep our youth safe and teach them to keep others safe.
We challenge people to want to challenge themselves.
We foster creativity, guide athletes, hone passions.
We allow for little minds to dream.
And we'll keep doing what we do each day.
Because we know that for our community,
Parks make life better.
You still texting?
I gotta let daycare know that I'm running late. They charge if you're late. And I'm not usually one of those people to text and drive, and I was almost done with my text when that car came out of nowhere.
You still veered in oncoming traffic. And that text message, it never got through.
One text or call could wreck it all.
Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything.
You still texting?
Is this a real morgue?
Yep.
Shut up. Like with real dead people. Ooh, I gotta text Ashley.
Ashley identified you when you wrapped your car around that light pole, because you was caring more about that thing than the road.
I knew she liked me.
Not anymore.
No text message is worth a life.
Over 90 miles of creeks run through Santa Rosa. Runoff from streets, roofs, and parking lots end up in our creeks through the storm drain system. To help protect creeks, keep your street gutters and roadside ditches clear of trash and other pollutants. For more information on the benefits of our creeks and tips on how to enjoy them, visit the Stormwater and Creeks webpage.
You still texting?
Busy. Where we at?
County morgue?
Not on my schedule.
You scheduled it when you T-boned that minivan and sent 2 people to the hospital. Guess you was paying more attention to that thing than the road.
Making sure my wife picks up my suit.
Sounds like a text message that just couldn't wait.
Texting and driving. A killer combination.
Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything. Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything.
In recreation and parks, the days begin when the sun rises. Most of our workspaces don't have 4 walls or a desk, but there's a lot to be done to get this place up and running. It takes a big team to cover so much ground. Each space is unique, requiring its own special method of care and service. And it's of utmost importance to see that it happens each day, because our workspace is your leisure space. And it includes 950 acres of Santa Rosa. It's the parks, the trees, the fields, the trails, special gathering places, community spaces, and it belongs to everyone.
We work for our community.
Striving to improve quality of life.
We provide family experiences, friendly competitions, leisurely evenings,
and places to bond with man's best friend.
We create space for celebration, relaxation, and artistic expression.
You can learn to serve a ball or learn to serve a meal.
Take a walk on a path or walk the plank.
We've got beautiful settings, space to show off our history.
We have room to roam, to roll, or to run.
We allow for the silly, the serious, the cool.
We offer countless ways to work on your health.
We keep our youth safe and teach them to keep others safe.
We challenge people to want to challenge themselves.
We foster creativity, guide athletes, hone passions.
We allow for little minds to dream.
And we'll keep doing what we do each day.
Because we know that for our community,
Parks make life better.
You still texting?
I gotta let daycare know that I'm running late. They charge if you're late. And I'm not usually one of those people to text and drive, and I was almost done with my text when that car came out of nowhere.
You still veered in oncoming traffic. And that text message, it never got through.
One text or call could wreck it all.
Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything.
You still texting?
Is this a real morgue?
Yep.
Shut up. Like with real dead people. Ooh, I gotta text Ashley.
Ashley identified you when you wrapped your car around that light pole because you was caring more about that thing than the road.
I knew she liked me.
Not anymore.
No text message is worth a life.
Over 90 miles of creeks run through Santa Rosa. Runoff from streets, roofs, and parking lots end up in our creeks through the storm drain system. To help protect creeks, keep your street gutters and roadside ditches clear of trash and other pollutants. For more information on the benefits of our creeks and tips on how to enjoy them, visit the Stormwater and Creeks webpage.
You still texting?
Busy. Where we at?
County morgue?
Not on my schedule.
You scheduled it when you T-boned that minivan and sent 2 people to the hospital. Guess you was paying more attention to that thing than the road.
Making sure my wife picks up my suit.
Sounds like a text message that just couldn't wait.
Texting and driving. A killer combination.
Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything. Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything.
In recreation and parks, the days begin when the sun rises. Most of our workspaces don't have 4 walls or a desk, but there's a lot to be done to get this place up and running. It takes a big team to cover so much ground. Each space is unique, requiring its own special method of care and service. And it's of utmost importance to see that it happens each day, because our workspace is your leisure space. And it includes 950 acres of Santa Rosa. It's the parks, the trees, the fields, the trails, special gathering places, community spaces, and it belongs to everyone.
We work for our community,
striving to improve quality of life.
We provide family experiences, friendly competitions, leisurely evenings,
and places to bond with man's best friend.
We create space for celebration, relaxation, and artistic expression.
You can learn to serve a ball or learn to serve a meal.
Take a walk on a path or walk the plank.
We've got beautiful settings, space to show off our history.
We have room to roam, to roll, or to run.
We allow for the silly, the serious, the cool.
We offer countless ways to work on your health.
We keep our youth safe and teach them to keep others safe.
We challenge people to want to challenge themselves.
We foster creativity, guide athletes, hone passions.
We allow for little minds to dream.
And we'll keep doing what we do each day.
Because we know that for our community,
Parks make life better.
You still texting?
I gotta let daycare know that I'm running late. They charge if you're late. And I'm not usually one of those people to text and drive, and I was almost done with my text when that car came out of nowhere.
You still veered in oncoming traffic. And that text message, it never got through.
One text or call could wreck it all.
Santa Rosa, out there in the middle of everything.
Apprehensive. You look apprehensive. Like.
It is amazing that I'm
I think it's good to sit up.
I get over there.
I do like this location better. Welcome. Okay, we can begin. I'd like to reconvene the meeting. We are opening the session. Report out from closed session. There was a decision in the meeting to increase the director's salary by 6.5%. And that was the decision made in the meeting. I'd also like to comment just in the future, it'll be written thusly, but it says in the closed session, it's the title, Evaluation Library Director, and we're going to add the words quarterly review. We'll be having these closed sessions quarterly to just keep on top of the evaluation process. Okay, before we went into closed session, I moved 2 agenda items down the agenda. So we're now jumping back up to announcements and public appearances. So I'd like to start with announcements, and I have several, so bear with me. The first has to do with the retreat, and that is the doodle has happened, and we have decided that the retreat will be October 17th, Saturday, and we're still waiting to firm up a location, but it's looking like it might possibly be at the Angela Center in Santa Rosa. So that's the date for the retreat, the retreat workshop for the commission. Also, I would like to announce that there is an event October 1st. And am I speaking too loudly, or is this okay? October 1st for an organization called, now forgive me, L'Océan, which is it's an annual meeting of breakfast at 7 a.m. at Sonoma State University, and I have made the arbitrary decision to buy a table at this event for the commissioners who would like to come. There are 10 seats at the table, and there's 2 of them already taken. And so if people would like to give me a check for $45 per seat that they would like, it's a first-comes, first-served basis. But this is a meeting called the Second Annual State of the Latino Community in the Sonoma County, a breakfast forum. So the
and what is that date?
October 1st, 7 a.m. 7 a.m. at the, let's see, I'm just going to, okay, 7 a.m. at the, at Sonoma State, and it's at the Conference and Events at Sonoma State University building. Pardon me? Student Center Ballroom. And I'm not sure about parking, but we'll find out about that. Okay?
How long will that go?
It's scheduled from 7 a.m. to 11:30 a.m.
There'll be a keynote speaker. Focus of the event is community involvement for the Latino community.
And LOCIAN is the organization that raised the $20,000 that we know of.
Right. Next is I wanted just to make an announcement to the commissioners. I have been remiss in a piece of the bylaws, and I wanted to let you know that I'll be instituting them in the next year from this date forward. But the bylaws do call for absences of more than 3 meetings, that it's my job as chair to notify the appointing body. And so I wanted to let people know that that'll be happening.
2 or 3?
3.
Okay.
Per year. And I'm considering the year to start. Well, it's technically started with the August meeting, but we'll go forward. And then the other thing is, and I'm going to ask Reese to fill in on this. I've asked Reese to be our representative to the sustainability program. Do you want to talk a little bit more about what that is, Reese?
The Sustainability Circles is what it's called. And this organization called Rev Sustainability, I believe it is, get various entities within a community together, and they like to have about 10 entities, and they meet once a month for 6 months, and at the end, for all day, and at the end of that 6 months, you walk away with a 5-year action plan towards sustainability, and that's sustainability not only of the facilities, but of community or economics, whatever your focus is. This time, the 3 that I know of that are connected with the circle we're going to be in is going to be Cobell Wineries, Oliver's Market, and then the Sonoma County Energy Independence Program. And I know there are more on the slate. I just haven't had them confirmed, so I don't want to say anything. We are composing a team of 1 commissioner, 1 person from the foundation, and then 2 or 3 people from the library itself on staff. And we're trying to get a cohesive connection going between all of us. I mean, add to the cohesion that we're creating. But also we're trying to form an alignment with Sonoma County's sustainability consciousness so that we're on the same page they are. And we're looking for, outreach connections and seeing how other people and other entities work and accomplish some of these goals. So I think it's a real positive move, and I think we stand to gain a lot and a lot of different levels from this.
Okay, thank you. And you'll keep us informed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the final announcement that I have could either be here or commissioner reports. I believe there were 8 of us at the Friends Gathering this Saturday in Sonoma. It was really an impressive event. Essentially, our role was to listen. The Friends networked and talked about a wide range of activities. And again, we can't say thank you enough to the Friends throughout the system on their commitment to the library and therefore the community, both in terms of time, emotional support, and financial support. It was a really pleasant event. All right. Moving along to public appearances. Are there any members of the public wish to address the commission? Very well. We'll move on to Library Advisory Board and Friends of the Library have a chance to report if there are any of those. Very good. We'll move on to item number 7, Commissioner Reports, and we'll start at the other end of the table.
I attended the lab meeting of the Cotati Rohnert Park Lab in August, and we are down a youth member and have a couple of excited prospects and are considering expanding our bylaws to allow for more than 1 youth member because it seems to be an area of interest for the youths. I also accompanied our branch manager, Nancy Kleben, to the Cotati City Council, where she received a proclamation proclaiming September Library Card Month. It was a very nice ceremony. And that is all I have to report.
Thank you.
I went to the Friends gathering in Sonoma, and they had a wonderful space, wonderful lunch. The people were really engaged, and I loved the ideas that came out of the meeting. And there were 2 or 3 that were just phenomenal, and I would really like to see them implemented. And the great thing about some of these is some of their ideas were system-wide ideas, and some were applicable to a specific, use within a Friends group. So there was some of this part stuff and some of this whole group stuff, which I think is great. And that's the thing that I like the best, was seeing, I don't know, for want of a better word, and it probably dates me, but a gestalt being formed, where the whole is becoming a greater than the sum of the parts. And I really like that whole thing. And to me, that's the foundation that's going to really make the system move forward. Cloverdale City Council also passed a resolution or proclamation for Library Card Month, and I love the last line of it. Whereas a library card is the coolest card to have. I just thought that one was great. And as Tim just said, I was chosen to be the Sustainability Circle's representative from the Commission, and I'm excited about that. So, thank you.
Nothing from Windsor to report. We really haven't done anything terribly exciting, though I did attend the meeting in Sonoma and learned a lot of things from that.
I also attended the Friends meeting in Sonoma, and I concur with everybody. I think that was a great, productive meeting, and it would be nice if there could be more than one of those a year, because I think it really pulled a lot of people together. Secondly, I attended the lab meeting, 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago, and we also are apparently down, a youth member, and we're also thinking of ways to attract some minority lab members. And then in addition to that, the new branch manager, John Hopt, is really doing a great job. He's pulling everybody together, and I've actually pulled the esprit de corps amongst all the people working there. It's 2 thumbs up. They like him, and he was interesting. He was explaining to me some of the things I guess when he did his master's degree, he hadn't had the opportunity to use some of his management tools, and he was sharing with me how he was going to implement those, which is great, because I don't know about you, but I very rarely ever tap anything I learned in college. So anyway, that's it for me.
I attended the Guerneville lab meeting last Wednesday, and it was a lively meeting, very lively. Brett was there. A lot of ideas were percolating, and let me read some of these off. Joint lab meeting, is there one scheduled, they ask?
I don't think so yet.
That's why I'm looking at Rebecca. Funny that I mentioned that, as we're working on it. Okay, I will report back. They said they were going to watch the tape here, so to see if I ask these questions. So I'm reading them off. Sorry. Also, since they're requested by the JTPA to do Brown Act training, or at least know about the Brown Act, they wondered if there was going to be training, and it would be a good idea if it was a joint training with the Friends and with the labs. So that was an idea they came up with, and they wanted to know if there was a budget for that. So I've asked that question. They also thought it would be a good idea, and I know there's technical difficulties, but they would like to see commission meetings at different libraries. And I said, because it's being taped and all that, it'd be a little difficult. But I guess they remembered that far in history that actually happened, where the commissions went to some of the other libraries. But they would like that, and they would like to host the first one if that ever happened. So, in Guerneville, hey, I come from Petaluma. I'm the farthest person to go out to Guerneville. So, if I can do it, no. Anyway, so let's see. The other thing is, I wanted to report that the Friends gave $20,000 to the library for bricks and mortar things, and the first thing they bought was a picnic table, which I guess was really needed for the teen activities that they do. So they're gonna do other things like shelving and things like that. But that was a pretty big deal. And then they're going to do a Halloween giveaway. They're going to give away books. And I guess somebody brought up no candy, and they said, well, maybe some candy with the books. But I suggested they give books to the parents also, and it was an attraction. So I actually had some books I gave them to give away, as it turned out. So it's kind of meshed in there. So anyway, it was a really lively meeting, and it's a really good group, and I'm happy to go to it. And I also went to the Friends meeting in Sonoma, and what a great group there too. So we're very fortunate. We got a great staff, great friends, great lab people. I mean, what more can we ask for? Other than money, of course, but that's a must. Thank you.
Not a lot to report. The Santa Rosa Lab meeting is coming up this Wednesday. We did interview and recommend 2 youth members and 1 adult member, I think, to the lab, and we'll get to those, I think, later this evening. And then I'd like to report that I made personal phone calls to Santa Rosa City Council members asking them to attend the Library Advocacy Summit coming up on the 26th. So that's what I have to report.
I too called city council members, and unfortunately some of them are committed to something else, but at least they returned my call. And I will be at the lab this Wednesday, and I feel we're so fortunate that we had more applicants than slots for the Santa Rosa Youth, and all 3 of them highly qualified. What I would like to say, since I also attended the Friends retreat, was the idea of bags such as the water agency bags that we see out there, but that we should have the library and the information on ebooks, and also it should be Spanish and English printed on the bag. And that was their idea, that the Friends would do that and then sell them, make money, and then free advertising is walking around. So that's my report, and I'll have more after I go to the lab meeting this Wednesday. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joanne Sanders, and I represent Sonoma Valley, and I have a few announcements. We met on Thursday, September 10th at 3:45, and we talked about a few different things. The highlights include the results of the recent book sale, which were revenue were up over $10,000. We collected $11,400 for the Friends group at our book sale. We have an upcoming meeting of the Teen Leadership Council. It's going to be on September 26th. From 3 to 4 p.m. at the Sonoma branch. It's a great opportunity for any kids that want to get involved and help suggest ideas for children and youth involvement and programming for the Sonoma Library to step up and have your voice be heard. So all teens are invited to come to the TLC meeting. Again, it's on the Saturday the 26th from 3 to 4 at the branch. We formally thanked at a city council meeting, I did anyway, the city of Sonoma for making some repairs to our building. The branch at Sonoma Valley was actually damaged during the earthquake. There was some minor damage, and the city is doing the repairs. We had no idea that the damage had occurred, but it has, and it's being fixed. Finally, we're excited about the launching of the program called Mango. It is a language learning program that will be available to all patrons of Sonoma County Library, not just the Sonoma Valley branch. Our branch did receive a grant from a community foundation and the Vidaz family that helped us purchase this for the benefit of all the patrons, and really looking forward to that being a popular amenity for everyone. And it will be accessible, according to Mike Dott, will be accessible from home. So folks can learn a new language from the comfort of their home at the Sonoma County Library website, and that is coming very soon. And I think that concludes my report. Thank you.
Good evening. I am the City of Sebastopol appointed commissioner, Helena Whistler, and I just wanted to report from the Library Advisory Board in Sebastopol had a joint table, information table at the farmers market. They had it for a couple of Sundays in Sebastopol. I attended the most recent one, and it was very successful. They had imitated Rodent Park's Friends group and had gotten a wheel, so kids and adults could come up and spin for certificates, $5 certificates to be spent at the Friends book sale, or children could pick out a book if they wanted to, because I think their real children's book sale isn't until December in Sebastopol. It drew a lot of people, and it was a joint venture between the Library Advisory Board, the Friends Group, and also Lantern, which is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to trying to raise money for an improved Sebastopol branch building. So it was lovely. It was a lovely day. I have some great pictures. I'm hoping that they'll put out in their newsletter, or perhaps they could put on the website. The Friends book sale starts this Wednesday in Sebastopol and goes through Saturday. And am happy to hear people talk about increasing the number of youth members on their library advisory boards. Sebastopol has 3 now, and it is a really successful group. One student goes to a private school, but 2 of the students also go to Anley High School, and so, the 3 of them are able to work jointly together on projects to encourage younger high school students in general to use the library. So it's been a good deal. That's all.
Thank you. I was rewarded. I visited some libraries earlier this last week, and I got a lucky book that I believe I'm number 120 on the list, but it's now at my bedside table. Yes. The latest Louise Penny. And the other thing that I was really pleased with was one of the things that was very impressive for me in a couple of reasons. In Cloverdale, they had a relationship with the high school, and they have a thing, I believe it's called Listening for a Change, or some such thing, which is this kiosk of oral history. And I was impressed with just the program, but I also was very pleased to see the relationship with the high school, that the high school was closed during the summer, and they said, this should be at the library. That was really wonderful to see. And I also visited Healdsburg and ran into John, the new branch manager, and was super impressed with enthusiasm and hope for what that library can be. It was really wonderful. And as I visited the libraries throughout the system, there is that sense of what's possible and how can we do it. And I think one of the examples is the program that Diana is doing in Petaluma, the Path to College, and offering various activities for students who are trying to prepare to go on their way to get into college. And there was a really wonderful article in the Press Democrat about the 3D printer in Petaluma. Unfortunately, I missed my training, but I'll find out where it goes next. I would also like to reiterate that a week from Saturday is the Library Advocacy Summit, and it's for We want people there who care about libraries, and since this is broadcast, I too have called my city people, and I'm meeting with the new superintendent in our district Wednesday, to encourage his attendance. And I think it's an important meeting that we all should be pushing to have happen. Any other comments? Okay. Moving on to the Commission Committee reports. Director Evaluation Committee.
The Director Evaluation Committee did not meet this month. We met instead in closed session. We will be meeting next month prior to our Commission meeting.
Okay. That's interesting. Okay. We have a closed session next month, too. So.
I know.
Okay. All right. Finance Committee, Commissioner Mackenzie is at her 50th high school reunion, so we have a substitute reporter today.
The Finance Committee met on August 17th in the Central Boardroom. Commissioners Foxen, Whistler, Grill, and McKenzie, Director Lear, and CFO Neiman were in attendance. Also attending was Susan Hopp from Sustainability Circles. And her announcements included Commissioner McKenzie reported that she and her husband Jake had arranged for Director Lear to be the speaker at the August Mayors and Council Members Association meeting, which took place this time in Rohnert Park at Speckles Performing Arts Center. There was a good attendance of mayors and council members from throughout the county at this meeting, and Director Lear's presentation was very well received. Discussion after his presentation included a suggestion that the MNC Association adopt support of the library as an action goal for this coming year. More feedback from commissioners to their council and more communication with the director was requested. Director Lear was asked to return to a future meeting of this group, which meets every other month in a different city. This was a very positive meeting for the library, good connections established. Also, Commissioner McKenzie was asked by the Friends of the Rohnert Park Cotati for further clarification on the one-time ask for funds, a change from past requests as needed. CFO and the director advised that this was a better budgeting method for the system. What the branches needed and the Friends could not provide would be built into the system budget. And finally, an announcement by Commissioner McKenzie that there was a meeting of stakeholders for the Roseland Library that met past Friday, and she requested an update, which was given by Director Lear and the CFO. Details will be spelled out in tonight's presentation to the Commission. A selection of chair and vice chair for the coming year was made. Commissioner Whistler made a motion that Commissioner McKenzie stay on as chair and that Commissioner Foxen be named co-chair, and this motion was passed by consensus. Financial reports were reviewed, and CFO Neiman will present them tonight. Sustainability circles. Commissioner Foxen and Susan Hopp discussed the concepts and goal of participating in this program, which again has been discussed tonight. The Finance Committee was unanimous in supporting participation, particularly since it will help us meet one of our goals in our strategic plan. Commissioners serving on the Friends of the Libraries boards. Commissioner McKenzie, who is vice chair of the Rohnert Park Cotati Friends, has served on that board for many years. She stated she was feeling uncomfortable about continuing to serve, especially because of financial requests being made of the Friends groups by the Commission. She stated that she's abstained from voting on this year's funding request by the branch manager and was now asking that the Director Lear obtain a legal opinion on the appropriateness of commissioners serving on FOL boards or the Foundation Board. She also stated that she enjoyed serving on Friends Board and felt that the connection to this group was important and made her a better commissioner. So this was a perplexing situation. An outcome of that is that Brett Lear did get consultation on that, and she said she did not see any conflict of interest since it was not a personal gain that was involved, but that when it came, if we decided to move forward on any kind of ballot measure, that this would have to be reviewed at some point in time. So there wouldn't be any conflict there. Review of the costs of opening the libraries on Saturday before holidays was made, and after much discussion and review of the costs, the committee decided to recommend that we maintain the status quo for the coming year. Out of this discussion came the item that the Commission will be reviewing tonight regarding setting priorities for budget surplus. Many ideas and suggestions have been brought forward by commissioners, staff, and the public. The Saturday and Sunday pre-holiday openings are 2 examples. Rather than continue to piecemeal the approach to spending this project surplus of approximately $265,000, the Finance Committee recommended the priority-setting item be discussed tonight by the full Commission. In addition, it was suggested that during the Commission retreat, the topic of how changes to the budget, including possible mid-year budget adjustments, be made and a policy and procedure be developed.
Thank you. Any questions or discussions regarding the finance report from the Commission? All right. I'll hold off for public comment till the end of this item, the whole Commission reports. Public Relations.
Public Relations Committee did not meet. We were planning on meeting this evening prior to the meeting, but there was a closed session that precluded that. And one of the reasons we've been holding off is that now that looks like we will have a community outreach consultant, we're hoping to work closely with them to make sure that our messaging is appropriate for promoting our libraries.
All right. And I also might add that I have asked that we use a combination of the slides from the mayor's discussion and the committee to look at a way of putting together a 10-minute presentation to our appointing bodies that we all can use. So that's a direction there. Revenue enhancement. Before we get to that, well, you can announce the changes.
Go ahead if you want to.
Okay. There's been a change on the Revenue Enhanced Committee. Commissioner Smith is stepping down, and Commissioner Neff is going to take her place on the Revenue Enhancement Committee.
Okay, we met August 28th, and Commissioners Barbara McKenzie, Randall Neff was present, myself, Director Lear, and 2 people from the community, Terry Price and Jonathan Greenberg, were present. The first item we discussed was the role of the Revenue Enhancing Committee, and some of the things we came up with were to view financial sustainability on both long-term and short-term basis, explore various options and resources in relation to the whole, identify a portfolio establishing potential percentages of various revenue streams, and set targets for these revenue streams appropriate to library funding sustainability. We also discussed defining and identifying the economic value to the community, the cities, county, combined, and exactly what that dollar amount might be is dollar to their investment and what they get in return for it. And do that also for individual cardholders. Members of the Revenue Enhancing Committee are going to act as liaisons between the other committees too, like Finance and Public Relations, and then the Community Outreach Group that Director Lear runs. We're going to be talking more about these at the next meeting and refine them for presentation to the Commission. The second item that we discussed was Jonathan Greenberg made a proposal at the last Commission meeting, proposing that the JPA members contribute a certain amount of money in order, enabling us to open on Mondays and one evening a week. And it was a really lengthy discussion. We started out with talking about the 6 JPAs in the state of California, which all happen to be in Northern California. There are only 2 of those JPAs that actually contribute or have city general fund contributions made to them. One of them is Sacramento, and the other is Santa Clara. And it was interesting, in Sacramento, 55% of their funding is property taxes, 19% comes from parcel tax, and then 21% from this general fund. Santa Clara, they have 79% in parcel tax, in property tax, 15% parcel tax, and they get 3% from the general fund. Other than that, the other 4 don't contribute through the general fund at all. Santa Cruz gets 44% of their revenue from property taxes and 55% from sales taxes. something to think about. Belvedere Tiburon, which only has one library, gets 61% of their revenue from property taxes, but they also, one of their JPA members is the school district. So they're eligible to get some of the educational revenue aggregation funding. So they get 17% from that. And then San Mateo and Sonoma County, the two remaining JPA groups, 91, 92, right in there, early 90%, all comes from property tax. And the rest is little bits here and there. So it was kind of an interesting comparison, and to find out that there are only two that get some and one doesn't get very much. And then we got into topics, and I think we came out with more questions than real answers, like what kind of strategy should we have? Should we do a limited ask of the JPAs or an ongoing ask? Do we consider in-kind contributions or just direct contributions? How do you balance the revenue streams in accordance with this? What kind of economic contributions are these cities getting by having libraries there? And then we kind of moved down a little further. And so how do you approach these JPAs? You just walk up and say, hey, we'd like some money. Or do you do an advocacy program that actually builds a platform so they understand what they're contributing to and build up to doing any kind of ask? So that was another discussion we had. I think by the time that Jonathan walked out of the room, I think he understood how complicated this whole thing is, and that just walking in there and say, hey, give us some money, probably was not the best route to go. And he told me that any time any member of the commission or administration made a presentation before a city body or an appointing body or anything like that, that he would be happy to rally members of that community to come to that meeting and support them. So I think he got it when he walked out, and I think he was pleased, and I think he felt heard about what he wanted, what he was suggesting. And it's not an idea that we have tabled and pushed away forever. It's just something that we need to walk through and consider and do with a thoughtful process. So I think that's probably the most of the meeting. And we finally decided that we would be meeting at 3 p.m. on the fourth Monday of the month. So there you go.
Thank you. Any comments from the commissioners or questions?
3 p.m., 4 p.m. 3 p.m. at fourth Monday. Yeah.
Any other questions from commissioners on that? All right. Any public comment on any of the committee reports? I'm really pleased with how our committees are functioning and thinking and acting. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. I noticed one thing that needed to be corrected. I believe both David Ebright and Paul Grill were absent at that meeting. Is that true? So on page 1, line 12, Paul needs to be moved down to absent. Any other changes or amendments to the minutes from the last meeting?
Move to approve.
As changed, as corrected? All right. Second? Second. Get that?
Second.
Paul. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstinence? Abstain, and Paul abstains. Okay, 2 abstain. Moving along, correspondence and press coverage. I already mentioned the article in the PD regarding the. I already mentioned the article in the PD regarding the printer in Petaluma. There was, I think, people saw the editorial in the Press Democrat about the Roseland Library. Any other press coverage that people want to comment about? Okay. We're to the consent calendar. Are there any items that commissioners want to remove from the consent agenda? Okay. Then the consent agenda will be adopted. Hearing no objection, the items as published on the consent agenda are adopted. Okay. Moving on to discussion items, the director's report.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Brett Lear, Library Director. I'd like to highlight a few of the things from this month's management report, but I wanted to start by addressing the fires that occurred over the weekend and are still occurring. Patrick did a nice job this morning of checking and seeing which of our employees live in those areas affected. So it seems as if we have one person who lives in one of the areas affected, and we're sure that she's safe. So our staff are well. And then I also, as did David Dodd, checked in with Christopher Beach, the director of the Lake County system, and I asked him how his staff were, and he said all of his staff are safe. Some of them are displaced, but no injuries. So that's terrific news. So a few things to cover. Tonight we'll take a look at the strategic plan. It's very close to being finished. I've shared 2 or 3 drafts with you all along the way. So tonight I'm hoping I can hear from you, have a conversation about, your thoughts on the document. Certainly give me guidance if there's specific areas in which you want to see us change. Otherwise, if we're more or less good to go, I'll bring that back one more time next month for adoption, and then we'll use that as our guiding document in the organization. Staff continue to work day to day on the opening of the Roseland Library in November. Today we spent some time going over the furniture. It's kind of a combined effort. We're working with the Boys and Girls Club on the furniture since we'll share space there. And the CDC has offered to buy a fair amount of it. So that's some of what we're doing this week, in addition to continuing to order the materials. And Mike is working steadily on getting the IT equipment purchased. So that's the work that's really happening from our perspective. I'm glad that we mentioned the Advocacy Summit on the 26th at 9 a.m. It'll go from 9 a.m. until 3. We're doing a nice job with getting folks RSVP'd. What is it up to now, Rebecca? 75 people so far confirmed. And I do appreciate all your help with anyone that you can call that we want to be sure that we want there. We went through the list this morning, Rebecca and I and Reese and a couple other people, and we're going to divvy up folks that we know have not RSVP'd yet, but certainly any help you can give with that will be fantastic. Something that I'm not sure has been mentioned other than in the management report, but the Friends and Foundation have formed what they're calling a Foundation and Friends President's Council, and I think that's a wonderful thing. They'll meet quarterly, but it'll be an opportunity for the foundation and our 9 friends groups to communicate. And I think it'll also carry forward some of the communication that we saw this past weekend at the Joints Friends meeting. But that group is formed and, again, has agreed to meet quarterly. I'm very pleased to announce that we filled one of our IT positions. We now have a network administrator. So Bruce Galbraith started last Monday. That one really had me sweating because that's a position you don't want vacant. If your network goes down, that's not good. And then I believe we're on our 3rd round of interviews for the e-resources librarian, which is our web developer. But the latest round of those has been very promising too. So I'm hopeful that position will be filled soon too. And then just today we posted the IT manager position. So we're plugging along at getting that division fully staffed. And then lastly, I wanted to mention that I've decided to start the executive MBA program at Sonoma State University. So I start that next month. I think it's it's going to see if I can juggle all this, but I'm very excited. I've always thought that it would be very beneficial for me and any organization I work for me to be able to bring a business perspective to the job. So it's a 17-month program, about 3 classes per semester, and the first one starts in about 3 weeks. So that's all I have to report. Thank you.
Any commissioner questions, comments? Things people want more of? I have a story.
Okay.
I was up at the Central Library during the food bank feeding, and Rebecca informed me that there's been a partnership with the Senior Center, that they came and did the serving, and that there was one person there who had used the Santa Rosa Library during the time when the woman who the library children room is named after was the children's librarian. And it was really wonderful to see that continuity and continued service. I'm really pleased with that program. I'm so happy it happened. Other comments from the commissioners regarding the management report? For the members of the public who don't pay attention very much to reading the management report every month is really a good pulse of how vital and vibrant our library system is and what it's doing. It's really a pleasure to see how our management and staff, the entire staff, are really working to serve the people of this county. Any other comments?
So I thought this was just the director's verbal report, but it's the whole management report.
We'll go on to the management report.
Because I just wonder, I thought that was lovely about the library card with the logo, this Charlie Brown logo. It says it's only open to new. It's open to anybody, not just new recruits?
That's a great question, because we talked a lot about that, whether we would only make it available to new card holders. We've decided that it will be available to everybody.
Okay, great. I do too.
Okay, any other questions about moving along right to the management report, the monthly activities? Any questions there? Comments? Boopsie is appearing soon.
What?
Is his mic on?
Well, regardless, yeah, there we go. So it is in process right now. I'm working with the company Boopsie actually on the preliminary phases of this setup, and then we'll be bringing some staff input into the mix as far as the integrations with it. It's going to work on a variety of platforms, as I mentioned last month, I think, including Windows, but most importantly, all the iDevices, and it's going to work really well for everybody.
Okay, and who's planning the inauguration of Mango? What's up with Mango? I'm particularly anxious to learn Pirate. Pirate's one of the languages.
Our meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're very happy to be able to teach people how to speak Pirate. Mango, seriously, though, it offers 71 languages and programs to learn them. Of just the whole world of languages. Of course, there are many more than 71 languages in the world, but these are some of the primary ones. And we are very grateful to the Sonoma branch and the Friends and the results of the Wine Country Weekend and fundraiser that they were willing to devote funds not just to the Sonoma branch but to the entire system. And I think that is a fantastic precedent for a Friends group to have done. So if you could convey all of our thanks back to the Friends groups there. That I've done it repeatedly, but it doesn't hurt to say it more often. And so we're looking at October 1st for a launch date, and we plan to do some good press in advance. If we can get some coverage, I think it's press worthy.
Okay.
Questions? Yes. No, it's just available with your library card. You just log on and you can begin a course immediately. And then you can pause it and come back to it and pick up where you left off. Yeah, it's really great. And it has like basic traveler level, and there's this great one called Spanish for Library Staff, which is fantastic. We really need that. Anything else?
Other comments for the management report, monthly activities, questions?
It was selfish of me to just ask about the library card, but I echo Tim's comment about how enjoyable it is to read about all the many activities that all of you are involved in putting together and making successful. And this is the kind of information we have to get out to the public more. So hopefully through the library advocacy program, we will do a good job of doing that, because our library is really fabulous with what it does. So thank you all.
I would be remiss if I didn't ask about the new adult literacy coordinator and who that person is. And
we have hired. We hired an interim adult literacy coordinator. Her name is Elisa Adams. She comes to us with experience from Shriners Hospital, from a couple other locations where she managed similar workload, where she was compiling statistics and data and reporting and managing sensitive topics. So we're really excited to work with her. She also has been volunteering as a tutor with the program for a year. So yeah, we're excited to kind of get her up to speed and help us out with the program. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Other commissioner comments? I think what I'm going to do in this case is take it this place to ask if there's any public comment on the director's report or the management report. Okay, moving along to the performance management status report. There's an increase. Any questions or comments from the commission regarding this?
Can I ask a question on this one?
Right.
I just kind of wanted to ask the group. I know that this was asked to be put on a while back, when I think there was quite a bit of lag on some of these reports getting completed. I was just curious: is this something you want to continue to have as a standing item, or would you be okay if it rotated off? I don't have a preference, but I wanted to ask.
I basically have a question, then I'll ask people. Patrick, it seems to me after almost 2 years of seeing these that we're pretty much consistently running around 89-90%. Is that true?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is true. And I think it's just a combination of workloads throughout the year. It's a challenge to stay on top of it, frankly. For example, for the summer, we have everybody coming off of
vacation?
The big read programs.
Okay.
Okay. And it tends to be extremely time-consuming for the managers to meet with staff. But, staff have been faithful, plugging through on it.
Okay. Any comments from commissioners? This report, page 33.
So, Brett, are you suggesting we go to quarterly or drop it completely, or?
I don't have a preference. I mean, if we dropped it anytime you wanted us to include it, we could. I just wanted to ask if it was useful to continue to see it monthly.
I'd like to see it at least quarterly. I think it's something that became such a huge concern for the commission in the past that I think it'd be good to just keep an eye, so that we know what's.
Okay, we could certainly do it quarterly.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Quarterly, I would like.
Joanne?
So we're not talking about the financial reports, right?
No.
When was this initiated?
I believe about 2 years ago.
3 years ago.
So this was not with Brett?
No.
Yeah, I would vote to get rid of this altogether. I've always wondered, it doesn't really mean a lot as a commissioner. So I think we
Okay.
get plenty of information elsewhere that just doesn't really do much for me.
I'm wondering.
Especially if it's taking a lot of time.
But you have to keep
It takes a while.
Don't you keep track of it anyway?
I couldn't hear you.
You don't keep track of it anyway?
No, I keep track of it on a monthly basis, yes. Every staff member, I record what the progress is.
Any other input from, I hear basically three options. One is quarterly, one is no more, one is continuing. I have another question is, do you think that this monthly requirement is motivating?
Probably not as much as we would like it to be.
Since we don't get above
for those that are struggling to stay on top, it's just a reminder that they're just barely keeping their heads above water.
I think it's motivating in the sense that when I saw it as a standing item, I realized that you all took it seriously, so I sent out a directive to supervisors saying by X date we'll be up to X percent, and that I really hats off to staff. That seemed to work pretty well, but I don't know that having it on the commission agenda is the motivator. I think I kind of heard a few folks at least say quarterly would work.
That's what I'm hearing. Okay, so how many people want to keep it monthly? Thumbs up. How many people are in favor of quarterly? How many people don't feel it's necessary? All right, I believe we would like it to continue to be quarterly. All right. Moving along to the financial report. Any background, Ken, that we need before we move into this?
Well, pretty normal July, as you can see. The only thing that looks a little odd there is under the use of money, negative $21,000. That's the reversal of the unrealized gain that's required to be made at the end of the fiscal year, and then it's reversed the next year. So it just looks odd. But other than that, it's pretty much business as usual.
Okay. Are there commissioner questions regarding the finance report?
On page 34 of the packet, there's the paragraph year-to-date revenue and expense.
Yes.
Okay, there's $1 million plus, and you put it at 0.6%.
Yeah, that's probably incorrect. Well, I don't know.
Since we're 8.3% of the year, I would have expected it to be much closer to that.
Yeah, it's actually a misprint or an error on my part. The total expenses is 1.1 million, which is 6% of the total budget, not 0.6%.
So that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Other comments?
I think the audit has begun.
Yes, the initial field work was completed in August. Right, where is it? And he'll be out one more time. And then we still have the actuarial reports from CalPERS and the OPEB trust that we need to have in order for him to finish all the footnotes of the audit. But it's moving along. So.
And are we going to be presented with all the policies we don't have issue again, and procedures? Are they pretty well moving along?
The finance procedures, they're complete and in a big book sitting on the table in front of me.
Okay.
The policies, the gift policy, it'll probably be up to the auditor whether he includes that in a footnote or not. Technically, as of June 30th, it still didn't exist. It was in process. It was adopted at the August meeting, I believe. So, but he has seen it. So,
okay.
It's just it might still be a question just because of it wasn't in place by June 30th.
All right. Any other questions about the finance report? Any public comment regarding the finance report? The draft safety plan, one document. Questions or comments from the Commission regarding this draft?
It's the right direction.
Joanne.
Unfortunately, I didn't receive my packet in the mail until today, so about an hour and a half before the meeting. So unfortunately, I was not able to review this in the detail that I would like.
Okay.
I think overall it's great to see it on the agenda. And it's great to see that there's, some steps being taken to improve our safety rate and hopefully ultimately our workers' comp modification rating that will benefit our employees and the bottom line for the library. I just haven't had an opportunity to read it in detail to develop questions. The one concern that I have is that it would be nice to see consultants outside of the Berkshire Hathaway group who is involved in insuring us. I would just like to see somebody completely independent be involved in the risk consulting and the safety program. Okay. But that's my only comment.
I had a question about number 2 and 3 have TBDs, to be determined on target dates. How soon do you think those target dates might be determined?
Those target dates are dependent on the completion of the hazard assessment analysis. Those are being scheduled with 4 branches starting the month of October. And once those are done, we'll have a better sense of what the specific training needs are, and we'll then be able to start developing the training and rolling the training out. So Berkshire Hathaway, as well as Wells Fargo, have been meeting with us at our monthly safety committee meeting. We just had one last week. So we'll obviously have another one next month, but we should have more information at that point in terms of timelines for the training.
Thank you. David?
I see estimated target dates here. I was wondering, do we have a sense, or will they be forthcoming after some of these other things are in place, as to what, I understand that a goal would be 0 injuries, but do we have a target or a target set, a reduction of X on our way to 0?
At the moment, I would say we don't. One of the things, again, we've never done before is this hazard assessment, and what's actually happening there is the consultants will be going out to the branches, reviewing the different jobs, tasks that are performed in the branches, and the inherent risks in each of those different kinds of tasks. and then different ways to minimize or mitigate that risk. That in conjunction with, looking back historically at what kinds of injuries we have had, I think will then give us some tools to come up with a realistic number in terms of, a goal. This past policy year, we ended the year with 6 claims, I believe it was. Previous year, I think it was 12 or 14. So obviously, less is more, so that's what we're headed for.
I'm sorry, I just have one more question about this. So, accepted claims, do we, or have the consultants looked at breaking this down into things like a first aid, a near miss, and then actually something ending up as an accepted claim?
We have that information. There hasn't really been any analysis, I would say, in terms of the difference between the two. Again, I'm certain we'll be looking at that closely as we go through this process. Each year, we probably have, I would say, maybe about 6 first aid claims.
Other commission questions? Comments? Public comment on this item? There being none, we'll move along to the monthly staff presentation on tending the garden.
There are our slides coming. Excellent, almost. One more button. Just push slideshow down below there on that bottom red bar, and it'll be good. Slideshow. There you go. Oops, no, not quite. There you go. Thank you. Excellent technical assistance. Well, thank you, Commission and Library Director Lear, for inviting us to come talk to you about collection development in our library. We have 10 minutes. So our intention here this evening is to provide an overview of how we select and deselect materials for the library's collection, and we'd like to think of it as a garden. So, because there's a word we'll be using later on, which is better to think of in the context of a garden. This is not by any means an exhaustive orientation to collection development. That takes somewhere around an hour and a half that we do an orientation for staff, and if any of you want that, hey, you can come and meet with me. I'm happy to do that. But we're not going to do that tonight. So Kathy DeWeese, here beside me, is our Children's Services Coordinator, and she has oversight of the children's and teen collections. And my name is David Dodd. I'm the Collections Manager, and I have oversight of the adult collections. So with that, we'd like to move to slide number 2. And I'm going to take this opportunity to do a little library school lecture on a man named S.R. Ranganathan and his 5 laws of library science. And these were developed in 1931. He was an Indian mathematician and librarian, and he came up with what have proven to be remarkably time-tested and worthy principles for librarianship as a whole. And you can just take and interpret each of these into modern language. We'll be going through and using these 5 laws as a framework this evening to talk about the collection. And so let's go on to the next one. So the first law of library science. Books. Oh, wait. This is me, yes. I'm doing this.
No,
We're
I
going
do this one. Books are for use.
Kathy.
That's me.
Go, Kathy.
I'm Kathy. The first law of library science is books are for use. We do capture usage statistics in order to see how well our collection is meeting this first law. There is something that we call the 80-20 rule. It's Pareto's principle. That is that 80% of our materials are used 20% of the time, and 20% of our materials are used 80% of the time. The statistics that we gather and keep each month, each year, we're always pulling statistics. They do actually reflect that. And my question is, what do you think is in that 20% that circulates 80% of the time? What do you think?
Children's books.
Well, DVDs is the number one circulating item. In 14-15, 650,000 circs. Part of that is because they circ for a 7-day period instead of a 3-week period, so 3 times a circ. It makes sense. The second highest circulating thing is actually adult nonfiction. In 14-15, it was 403,000, which if you think of the size of the adult nonfiction collection, it makes sense. The third highest circulating, picture books. Yeah! And that actually, in that,
She gets a little carried away. You have to excuse her.
That division of DVDs, adult nonfiction, picture books as the top 3 circs, really that has shown over at least the past 3 years that I pulled, that David pulled, or did I pull? I don't know. We pulled. So it's interesting that that whole 80-20, that 20% of our items circulate 80% of the time. So I'm sorry, 80% of our items circulate 20% of the time, 20% circulate 80% of the time. What that means, though, is that a large amount of our collections sit on the shelves. Does that mean we should get rid of them? No, it does not. What that means is that we have what they call a long tail. That tail goes off. and you might only have 1 circ a year for some of those items, or you might have 5 circs in 5 years. But that rule about books are for use, well, actually, no, it's the later one that every book has its user. But we feel it's very important to be able to meet the needs of the patrons who come in and not just have the popular items. To meet that, we have a few other, rather than keeping all those materials around all the time, we have a few options where we can keep access to older titles. One of them being Open Library, which is a resource that allows electronic access to some older titles through the internet. And then another one is Interlibrary Loan. Okay. Passing it back to David. Next slide.
And I'll just add to that. No, leave that slide there for a second, because there's a couple of things that are noteworthy besides what was already said, which is that you'll notice a mountain shape here, and where we peaked in our circulation there, right, fiscal year 11. Well, what happened in fiscal year 11 after that was that we reduced our hours. So that could account for a certain amount of that fall off in 12. Then we climbed back up in 13, and then we've seen a fall off in the circulation of traditional materials. The color coding is weird, but that bottom section should be traditional materials. We added e-audiobooks, downloadable audiobooks, in about 2009, and they have comprised a slightly larger and larger portion of the circulation. And then we added e-books in 12, and they are the growing edge of our circulation right now. So we haven't totally made up for the loss in traditional material circulation, but we are seeing that growth. So that's just something to note. And I wanted to note, in terms of return on investment for your advocacy uses, I did a little number crunching at the beginning, and if we do 3.3 million circs in a year, and you figure the average cost of an item that people are checking out, a book or a video or a CD, might be around $20, that's $66 million of value that people get from our collection. We spend $17 million, so you get about a 4-to-1 return on investment. I think that's pretty good. Yeah. So, next slide. Every book, its reader. Now the word book, you want to substitute in every thing. But we like the word book sometimes. And reader, listener, viewer, whatever. So how do we do this? How do we provide access to the books and materials to our readers? Well, we employ library cataloging. Here's a screenshot of I Will Take a Nap, featured on the front page of our Find catalog. That we now have good keyword searching for all of the materials in our collection. And you can see access specifically on the left-hand side to particular types of materials. We allow people to place holds online. That's a very popular service, actually. And just this year, we are starting a Lucky Day collection, which Tim noted earlier, and that is meant to draw people in on the off chance that in their library branch, just by visiting, they might find something they actually want. So number of requests, you'll see it's gone down over the last 3 years, from 815,000 in fiscal 13 to 725,000 in fiscal 15. And this reflects the general downtrend in circulation. And there's been a lot of speculation about why this is in libraries across the country. And it seems to actually just reflect the economic upturn, quite frankly. So it's a trend across the nation. It's not just us. But maybe people are using their libraries just a little less because they can buy more stuff now. It's a challenge to obtain the books that readers want. We have to make a lot of decisions in that. There's an explosion in book publishing. Any wild guesses how many books are published in English every year? Right now?
Nope.
Okay, we add about 15,000 titles a year, so that is in relation to about 300,000 traditional books published per year, and now there's this explosion in self-publishing, so you add another 300,000 to 350,000 titles on top of that 300,000. We're up around 650,000 books published each year, of which we buy 15,000. So it's getting harder and harder to make these decisions. Next slide, please. This is laws 3 and 4 combined on one slide. And law number 3 is every reader his or her book. Of course, Ranganathan said every reader his book. But we say his or her book. And then this next law is save the time of the reader. So selection. Well, we select books. It's demand-driven, largely. There was a big movement in the 1960s away from the library being prescriptive to being more receptive and giving people what they want. So that's pretty much the perspective we take now. Give them what they want. It's their money. They're paying for it. They should be able to find in the library what they want to read or view or listen to. So we do that through a variety of mechanisms. We maintain eagle eye on the publishing industry and on what's being promoted by the publishers, what are the upcoming big books, and we're ahead of that curve most of the time. Occasionally, we are really happy to be able to rely on our patrons making suggestions, which we read about 10 suggestions a day on average, and deal with them. Either forward them to the selector for consideration, inform them that it's already been purchased or is on the way to being purchased, or place a hold for them, or tell them that their best option might be interlibrary loan. So I just want to say that I put up here this list of top 10 holds as of August 1st. This is something we look at every month. What are the most requested items? And as of August 1st, you can see what these 10 things were. And there were 2 ties. I thought that was pretty interesting. So, and not until item number 8 was there a video that came up as the most requested item. So it's still books. And you can see pretty high demand for things like Girl on the Train, 359 people waiting. We now have about 140 copies of that, and the request list is down to 280, so that's like a 2-to-1 ratio. That's not bad. We like to keep that ratio somewhere around 6-to-1. This is under save the time of the reader, so that people don't have to wait forever. Last year it was 8-to-1, so every time there are 8 holds, we would buy an additional copy of that book. Anything more than 8 holds. Yes, Joanne.
Thank you. I just have a quick question. This top 10 holds list,
yes,
is that something that you have? I'm sure it's something you have pretty available at any month, right?
Yeah.
Is that ever published?
I publish it on Facebook.
Do you publish
and
it
I link
else?
it to the titles. It's hard to know where else to publish it exactly, but we
I
could
think that's
find
very telling
It's
about
nice,
our
isn't
community.
it? Yeah.
Our community.
It's like our top 10 list.
It is.
It's like the bestseller list for our community.
For our community.
Yeah. Good idea. Yeah, I'd like to do that actually on the website. I think that would be a really nice news item every month. Thank you. But I had thought of doing it on Facebook, but yeah, the website. Maybe the newspaper would carry it. We could have a column, bestsellers, Sonoma County Libraries.
I like it.
Neat idea. Well, that used 2 minutes. Okay, so, oh, yes.
They have that section on Sunday.
Yeah, the book section. Mm-hmm. Right.
But, I mean,
Is your mic on?
Microphone.
Is your microphone on?
No, she's just not talking into it. There's no public out there watching this on streaming video. No. Okay. Anything else about Save the Time of the Reader? Lucky Day is an example of Save the Time of the Reader. It's got to be efficient. It's got to be easy to get at. What's that, Tim?
I got Girl on the Train on Lucky Day, too.
A Girl on the Train you found also?
Yeah.
Wow.
I had
you
a lucky
really
day.
lucked out. That's twice lucky. All right. Now I'm going to kick it back over to Kathy.
Oh, thank you. So the fifth law is that the library is a growing organism. Now, growth does not just mean getting bigger. We are always adding materials. We have a materials budget where we're adding books, DVDs, materials every month. But growth and being a growing organism does not mean just getting bigger. Just like you would cut back a rose bush to get more vigorous growth, when we weed materials, we see an increase in usage. Looking at this chart here at the fiscal year 08-09, you see that the red columns are the items that we deleted from the collections, and we call that weeding, like with a garden. Notice that there's a higher concentration there. That year was the year that we did our conversion to RFID tagging, and we had a big project. We called it the Big Weed. And we asked our staff that since we were going to be putting hands on every book and placing these tags that cost money into every book, that to make sure that they evaluated them and that it is a book that you want to keep in the collection. So we did do a very intensive hands-on project that year, looking at every book in the collection.
Was there a lot of dead wood?
You know, there might have been.
Oh, okay then.
The weeding, the maintenance of the collection on the deselection side, it is something that we have to do regularly, and some people hate to do it. Some people, do you know any pack rats? There are some librarians who have that tendency. However, you have a book that is a wonderful resource about law, and it's 4 years old, and it costs so much money. But if it's 4 years old, should that be on the shelf? It should not. So we actually have extensive guidelines for staff. Our specific criteria for evaluation and withdrawal of items specific to different areas of the collection. You have something like poetry or folklore where it's not going to go out of style. So that really we don't get rid of those unless it's for condition or
Never being used.
if it's never been used, or if a new edition comes out, something like that. But then you have areas like the 300s. Go ahead a little bit.
That's all right. You can go ahead to the 300s.
Yeah,
next slide. Yeah, there we go.
If you go to the 300s, there's an example up there where it's got just the actual text from our selection criteria. That social science collections should be aggressively weeded of dated material. And just making sure that we, for some of those areas, spend a lot of money each year to make sure that we have the newest materials. If you refer back, Patrick, can you do this for me? If you refer back to that slide number 3, which was the one about books are for use, just a quick back, where we see that spike in 09-10, fiscal year 09, fiscal year 10. I mentioned that 09 was the year that we weeded aggressively, and then right away you saw that growth, the rose bush coming back to life. That is reflected in the usage statistics. We're always adding materials to our shelves. We need to keep the collection at a size that can fit into the space we make available. We are mandating ongoing deselection along with selection of new materials. So anyway, what else? How is the weeding done? So it's done at the branch level by the librarians who select for that branch. So and it's not done centrally, so that we have hands-on continuous curation by the people who work with the public at that location to make sure that they are keeping the things that they know their patrons are using. Lists are created on a periodic basis of items that have not circulated in, say, 3 years or 2 years, depending on the area of the collection. And then those lists are used as one of several starting points by branch librarians to help them deselect, help them weed. What happens to these withdrawn books? First, they are offered to the Friends of the Library. The Friends of the Library will evaluate them and keep them for their sales. If the Friends of the Library choose not to use them in the sales, we do consider certain titles for donations to schools and to the jails. particularly the book club sets. We do try to get those, since they're big groups of sets, we offer them through SCO so that it's access to all the schools in the county. And then finally, they would be recycled. Just a couple of statistics. In the fiscal year 14-15, we added 72,000 titles, materials of new purchases, and we deleted about 70,000. So we're still having more coming in than is going out.
Yeah.
And that's pretty regular, except for that 1 year.
And the collection size as of June 30th, 2015 was about 800,000 items, in case you want to know that little snippet of information. Mm-hmm. As a final note, I just say that there is a cost to keeping a book or an item on our shelf. And it's been studied. There was a good paper I read, and I put the URL in the packet. If you want to go read the article, it costs about $4 per item to keep it on the shelf in the library each year. And that's taking into account all the costs of housing, having a building, having a circulation staff, having the cataloging happen. And it's not free. $4 per book every year. So you don't finish paying for the book once you bought it, processed it, and put it on the shelf. You pay for it continuously.
So where does that show up on the financial statement?
It does not. It shows up in rent or in building maintenance. It shows up in anything physical that we have to do. It shows up in staff. Mm-hmm. It shows up in the automated system for checking out. I mean, it shows up all those places. That's all part of the cost of having and circulating materials. And thanks for your time. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you.
Tim.
I have several.
I know. You always do.
You mentioned what I'm always interested in, especially when I find some rare books, like, Broadway illustrators or something. Who actually decided to buy that book? How is that? You mentioned that the branch watches for their library, but is there somebody in the system who is an expert on the Revolutionary War and they review the books that are coming out on the Revolutionary?
So what we have in terms of the adult collection is we have assigned selectors for areas of the collection. And if it was a Broadway Illustrators book, that would be Vandy Tompkins. She oversees the purchase of all of the books in our 700s, Dewey 700s, and that includes baseball, landscape architecture, movies, dance, Scrabble, anything entertainment related. So that would have been Vandy probably.
Okay, related to that question is, because there's been some wonder about, you see the librarian sitting in front of a computer, about what percentage of a librarian's time is spent on gardening the collection?
Wow.
Good question.
That's a very good question, and I do not know the answer. It varies. Some people, going back to the example of Vandy, I know that she takes her work very seriously and spends probably 10 hours a week on that selection job. That would be a quarter of her time. Other librarians don't, it's not that they don't take their work that seriously, but they don't put quite as much effort necessarily into it, because each of us gets delivered to us, like I do the 300s. So I have every month from our vendor a cart of books electronically delivered to me, and I read all the reviews and I decide which of them we need to buy. However, I pretty much accept that cart at face value. I don't go out looking for a lot of things to add to it. Vandy will go out and look for things to add that are missing, that she thinks need to be added. And for instance, one thing we don't get a lot of is songbooks, and she knows that there's high demand for songbooks. So she'll go find what songbooks have been published this month, and she'll add them into that 700s cart, making them available to all the branches for purchase.
And she then sends that out to the branches.
Okay, yeah, it's a two-step process. She makes one cut with system-wide money, and then it goes to the branches, and there's discretionary money at the branch level. That's for the adult selection, and children's works a little differently.
Okay. What percentage of the books are lucky?
Pardon?
What percentage of them are in the new lucky?
Oh, a sliver of a sliver.
Okay.
And I mean, you couldn't even really put a percentage on it, I don't think.
Girl on a Train, you've got how many copies?
I think it's up to around 140.
Well, so eventually there'll probably be 14 in the system.
That's right.
And so those others go...
They will be deselect. They will be dead wood. at that point, and they could be good, really excellent candidates for a Friends book sale. Once they've landed on the shelf and they're not circulating anymore like mad, I think that'll happen probably within 6 to 8 months now.
Not that good of a-
And then the Friends will get them for their book sales, and I think it'll still be a relatively hot item.
Okay. Any other questions from commissioners? I only have one more.
One more?
Yeah, we have a goal of a world-class collection.
Oh, yeah.
How does someone know it's world-class?
Is that goal carried over into the current fiscal year? I thought that was last year. Oh, how would you know if it was world class? Well, I think it's just, can you get what you want? Is my book there? Is my material there that I want? And if you find yourself being disappointed over and over again, the ebook you want isn't owned. The physical book you want isn't owned. You can't listen to the music you want. This library is not moving aggressively into a new format. All of those things would make you question whether you really had a world-class institution in front of you.
Okay. Other questions from commissioners? Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thanks very much. That was way more than 10 minutes, sorry.
I noticed. Any public comment on that presentation? All right, moving along. Oh, yes. Come on down.
Barbara asks, what about large print? And I buy large print for the system. We do have a dedicated budget for it, about $1,000 a month of large print materials for the whole system. And then those books float. That's one of our floating collections. So wherever it gets checked out, and then wherever it's returned, it just stays on that shelf until it's checked out again. And that way, we found that it's a nice way to sort of circulate the collection around without having to do a formal transfer. Did you have a particular question about large print?
The reason I asked that question is because I discovered quite by accident that some of the books that are so popular are available in large print. Shh. I ordered quite by accident, on the train. And the next thing I know, it's there, ready to be picked up. And I thought, that's amazing.
You have stumbled on one of the great secrets of library use. Mm-hmm.
Except goldfinches.
And that's why I'm shushing you. For people who need large type, that we buy large type basically to fill a need, and that is for people who are visually challenged in some way. And some people who are not visually challenged have discovered this collection. And it's really kind of fun to read large type. You can just hold it anywhere and read it from a mile away. It's great. So, some people are savvy to this. You go in and you request a very popular book in large print, and you'll get it quicker, possibly, maybe.
So I have a comment and a question. Since you brought up the floating collection, I know we had talked about at some point transitioning the whole collection into that kind of floating collection, and I just wondered, you mentioned it, and I wondered, we're doing part of it, and we're...
TBD. Personally, I think that there's some real big issues around floating your entire collection, and there's a lot of experience out there now with libraries that have done it for a number of years, and I think we'd want to look real carefully before we leapt into that. I think it works really well for these collections that are smaller and more discreet, and I think they could work for things like media as well. We're not doing it with DVDs, and I think we could do it with DVDs. I think we could do it with anything AV related. I think it gets tougher when you start talking about, as we said, these collections that are really tailored in some ways to the branch, and especially the children's collections that can be tailored to specific school assignments that have been built up over time. And if you start floating that, then the state report happens and all the books go to X branch and they land on that shelf. And then that same assignment happens at Petaluma branch, and there are no state books on the shelf because they've all been taken over there and returned there and lived there. So that's one anecdotal example of what I've seen happen in some libraries that have adopted this.
And this has been a great report. I really appreciate it very much. And I wondered if there's some way to put some form of it on the website. So the public could, might have questions about why this and why that. And
Sure. And, and I think it's really good to get sort of ahead of the curve around weeding, too, because there have been some big issues lately in the press around wow, my library is getting rid of all these books. And if we can just know that that's part of business as usual, and we do it for good reasons, and we're not going to be extreme about it, that could be really positive for the whole community. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right, moving along to item 11.4, projected revenue and area of need. This is a discussion item, and Ken is coming to the podium.
Great. We talked a little bit about this at the last commission meeting. The tax revenue, the tax base for 14-15 came in higher than we had anticipated and budgeted for. And as a result of that, we're going to we're going to see $265,000 more in tax revenue in 15-16. Since then, there's been quite a bit of discussion between staff and commissioners, and a number of items have come up as to maybe how we could use this money and use it wisely. And we put together on page 56 a list of the majority of those items. It's not all inclusive. There's always more things depending on the day. But we also thought it was important not only to attach a cost to that, but also make a little bit of a recommendation of Tier 1, Tier 2 of what we as staff and administration think would be the highest priorities, and you can see that on there. And then the next page puts into detail a little bit more about the areas of need, specifically with the administrative assistant for the commission and HR support and facilities manager. So it kind of details things out there. So like I said, I wanted to open it up for discussion, see what priorities you may have, and hopefully move forward into, in the future, making an adjustment to the 15-16 budget to use some of this money if you think it's important.
And so coming out of this meeting, you would like us to give you essentially a prioritizing of what we would like.
Yes.
I know, I think what I would like to do is kind of just go down the table and hear people's reaction to these items and proceed from there. So we'll start with Hillary. You can pass. We'll start with Reese.
Okay. Looking at Tier 1, the administrative assistant for the commission and HR support. Well, first off, I've watched Patrick struggle alone out there with all the stuff that he has to do dealing with personnel, and I really felt bad for you over the year, excuse me. And so I think definitely that that's a good addition. And at the same time, I've had enough contact with Rebecca just trying to get done what I can't do myself, and I try to do absolutely as much as I possibly can without interfering. And anyway, the amount of commission work, I think that is a really good, that combination, finding one person to help both places is a really good idea.
Okay.
Facilities manager. We're talking about refreshing Cloverdale, and Ken ends up in Cloverdale I don't know how many times. Every time I turn around, Cynthia's saying, oh, Ken came up and we had another meeting. And that's using a lot of a CFO's time doing facility work, and I think that's a misplacement of money myself. So I think that's another good consideration. Central refresh, it's almost as old as Cloverdale. And so, again, I think that's a very good idea. And I think putting 2 computer labs or a computer lab in the central library. I think that's a good idea because that's moving us ahead on the technological line, and that's not something we have, I believe, in any of the libraries. Now, I don't know about some of them specifically. So
Okay.
those are my thoughts on Tier 1. And
Why don't we just stick with Tier 1?
Okay, that sounds
otherwise
good.
we'll be here till tomorrow.
Yeah,
Okay.
unless we have another pass.
All right. Well, we'll go back to her. Okay, Randall?
I think the computer labs that are listed is something that we could ask the Friends groups to support. Also, the educational classes and events for adults, teens, that's certainly that the Friends would be interested in supporting. The rest of the Tier 1 items I think are good choices.
Paul 1?
Yeah, I think that you need to build at the top and plant there and then let the fruition happen below you from good management. When you're coagulated at the top all the time, you can't do it. So yeah, at least the first two things in Tier 1, I think are absolutely correct.
Okay. Paul 2?
My question is the $265,000, is that something we're projecting to continue, or is this a one-time deal?
That will continue.
That would continue.
Yes.
Okay. So that would be, then I would agree with the positions, because then we'd have the money to pay for the positions. And I know everybody's short-staffed, and so I guess I would agree with the top two for Tier 1. And we're not going into Tier 2.
At the moment.
Okay.
David?
I don't see as an option banking the money or not spending it.
Sure, that's always an option.
So I just don't see that on here, so I'd like to consider that as an option or a large portion of it, so that if other revenue sources don't materialize, that there's some addition, that we have additional funds there, that we have occasionally dipped into some of our funds to help us out with. And things like the OPEB trust, I don't see those sorts of things on here to make sure that our financial house stays in order as best as it can. And with that said, I think that I would agree with the filling positions, especially facilities, because that's going to take something ongoing. And then also I think some sort of devotion of additional dedicated staff time beyond what we're already getting for commission.
Okay.
Okay, I realize that Roseland has become a huge issue with the November 1st opening. Stocking a new collection. Library staff has worked so hard on this and other projects, and I really appreciate it. The library strategic plan states people are our top priority. We offer welcoming, personalized service to everyone who visits us in person, online, and by telephone. Therefore, I can't understand how a dedicated bilingual 20-hour-a-week staff person not be included in the Roseland plan and budget and not be Tier 1. I realize that cycling temporary workers, even though they are well qualified and caring from other libraries, is not the commitment this project deserves. It does not allow staff to become knowledgeable about their local community and establish local partnerships that benefit residents. We have had a lot of community partnerships, the Rotary's buying the computers, Rotary Club, I guess it is, $50,000 from the Library Foundation, $22,000 from the community, $25,000 for a 20-hour temporary bilingual library person who is assigned should be part of Tier 1. Thank you.
I don't think I've ever heard a manager say that they're overstaffed, so I don't really support adding more staff. If we have a little extra money, I think we owe it to the patrons to open up in the evening and on the weekends. It's where we've cut the public's service. We are a public agency. They deserve to have their services back. So, but first and foremost, mine would be what happens to fall under Tier 2. I really don't support the Roseland effort because I think it takes away from the rest of the libraries that we're not serving adequately, and we're just spreading ourselves too thin. I know it's a worthy cause, but I have to stand behind restoring the service to the people who have supported us up till now. And we have to be open on the evening and weekends. Even less important to me, but the evenings when people need their libraries, people need to study, they need resources after school and after work. That's where our priority should be.
So you would do Saturday and Sunday hours, the first one? Okay.
Thank you, Tim. Well, as I said, restoring hours is my number one priority. Staff has presented additional Saturday or Sunday hours as the Tier 1 first line option. It doesn't really address evenings, so I wouldn't propose to change that. There must be a reason there why evening wasn't proposed. So, yeah, that's it.
Okay. Elena?
Actually, I'd like to see all of these things funded. But since we're only supposed to look at Tier 1 right now, it seems like the refresh of Central would be a one-time cost, $49,000. And I think I heard correctly, somebody suggested it's possible something we could ask for help from the Friends to do? Okay. And for the Central Computer Lab, does that include the cost of a staff person to run it, or?
No, that's just the hardware.
So that's a one-time cost also?
Correct.
Correct. Okay. So of Tier, and I think those are valuable things, but if there's a way to get help from our friends to do those one-time cost things, I think that would be the way to go on that. So I do support the administrative assistant. I do think Patrick is, he could get so much more done if he had a little bit of help to even file things for him, if you've seen his office. And he's just stretched so thin and has been for a long time. The commission, with its expanded number of people and the number of committees, and most of them standing committees that require agendas and everything posted and arrangements made, and I think is not money unwisely spent. I think it would be it would help the commission get more work done. And the facilities manager is something that this library has not had for a long, long time. Before you came on board, it was something that the finance director had to take care of too, and it just, our buildings are not in great shape, and we have not every building has a lease, so we have to take care of that as soon as possible. So those would be my two top from Tier 1.
Okay. I have a question about my suspicion about the administrative assistant is that would be a confidential position, basically. Okay. And then for history folks, I'm the historian, that we ran into some problems, particularly with the refresh of Sebastopol, partly because we didn't have a facilities manager to oversee that whole process. So I would be in favor of 1 and 2, and I kind of feel like I need a bigger, broader picture of Roseland, but for me, my third priority that's not on Tier 1 would be somebody permanent to be at Roseland, bilingual, to be able to. I think Roseland is to some degree a pilot program about how we can serve that community, and so I would. You were saying something around $25K.
It's about $25K.
Okay, 25,000. So that would be something I would chime in on. And just as a summary, we've had, on terms of Tier 1, we have 6, what? Hillary, did you find, yes. Go ahead. You're ready.
I'm more or less ready. I too would like to do all of these things.
Me too.
I've seen firsthand the problems that are created by the lack of an additional administrative assistant, both from Patrick's perspective and from Rebecca's. And I do think that it's something that would allow us to get, not just the commission, but the library as a whole, to get more work done more efficiently and ultimately benefit our patrons quite a bit. So I am in support of that. The facilities manager, I think we all know the condition of our facilities, not great. And I think a dedicated facilities manager could also help us move that forward and benefit our patrons. The refresh, if we could get the Friends to pay for that would be lovely. And of course, the computer lab, it's kind of a one-time cost, but kind of not, because computers are on a fairly regular refresh cycle. So a sort of one-time cost. But I think I would support the two positions, administrative assistant and facilities manager.
All right. So we're hearing, what I'm hearing, and I think you want to chime in here? What I'm hearing is essentially an overwhelming agreement with one basic no, administrative assistant and the facilities manager. Those are directions that we're saying. That, if my mathematics works, which sometimes it doesn't. Jamie has caught me up a couple of times on my mathematics. That if we were to agree to that, then we're basically at 65,000 left over, right? Do you want to chime in on? This might be a time to see if there's any public comment on this Tier 1 proposals. Okay. So, how shall we proceed about that $65,000?
Do you?
Go ahead.
It says here additional hours for Roseland. Does that mean above and beyond the 20 that I think it was 20 that was mentioned in something as an opening time? I mean, was that additional? Because Linda mentioned hiring a bilingual person to work it, but that would be during all the time. And then is this added on top of that? Or is that separate? I'm confused, in other words.
Yeah. So when Ken and I put this together as far as a document, there was more talk about possibly doubling the hours that Roseland would be open a week. So these numbers reflect that, not hiring a permanent staff member for a year.
Okay.
But Ken could tell you, I think now, approximately what the cost would be on that, and it's probably similar.
So I just have a question about the additional hours, because the way you had explained it before was that we were limited because of the Boys and Girls Club. So that's changed?
No, I think it'd be very difficult to literally double the hours, now that we've sat down with the Boys and Girls Club over the last 2 or 3 weeks, and they say that they may have 100 or more kids in that 3,500 square feet area. I think both the library and Boys and Girls Club have agreed that we shouldn't try to overlap services. So we're staggering our time in there when they're not there. So right now we're planning on mornings and evenings and Saturdays. So it would be hard to go from 20 to 40 hours. I think then we'd have to, open the library at 6 or 7 a.m. and or keep it open until 9 or 10 at night to log that many hours.
So are you saying that this shouldn't be on the list then?
I wouldn't recommend. I think 20 hours is a really good fit as far as us getting in there and getting a library started. To me, it seems like a good number of hours a week.
And what is your current proposal for staffing then?
None. So initially, there's the $90,000 that we asked you to approve for the budget.
Right.
That was back when we were having meetings with the CDC, and the CDC was the agency, the Community Development Commission, that was going to step up around staffing. So having known that, we planned our $90,000 largely around the collection, equipment, and bringing events to the location. We'll end up paying for the extra help that will be in the building. It looks as if now we'll rotate our staff that speak Spanish through the building along with an extra help person, and also use the extra help staff to backfill when our Spanish-speaking staff are away from their location. But the foundation is currently having to do the fundraising that we will then receive to spend on the extra help.
So the extra help, okay, I guess my question was not adequately stated. The library is open on a morning. How many library staff members do you see there, either extra help or?
There'll be 2 people in the building at any given time other than lunch times. One of those will be a permanent library staffer, and one will be an extra help staffer.
And the current idea is that the permanent library employee will be moving in from another branch.
Correct. So Keo right now is working with our Spanish-speaking staff to see which are interested in working at the location. And are you at Keo? Probably 2 or 3 different permanent staffers will work at Roseland? Yes.
So, I hate to belabor this, but I'm just trying to understand. Essentially, what we are saying is staffing for there will be a permanent position and extra help. It'll just be different permanent people, but it is basically a permanent position.
Correct. So there might be 3 days a week where it's perhaps Kim. Kim has interest in working there, and then there may be 2 days where it's another staff person, and then there will be an extra help person in the building with them. And I would think that position, that very well may be a single person that works there every day. So there'd be consistency in the extra help worker.
Okay. All right. That helps me have a little bigger picture. Any other comments or questions? We still have $65,000.
So is the process to make proposals on how to spend the $65,000?
At this point, yes.
So I would make a proposal that we invest in this branch. We show the public that we can do this, we can be flexible. And as much as I know Kim would be great 2 or 3 days a week, and all the other staff people would be great, but to have one point person for the community, one point person, make it a temporary position so that we can test it, so we can look at it. It also shows how responsive we are to the community, all of our funders. Perhaps this will help if we put an initiative forward and get some people to vote. That way they keep their librarian, their person. Kim already has a full-time and a half job. Most of the people we're talking about already have big jobs. This is $25,000. Think about what we would get back for that. So I propose to you $25,000 for a Roseland position designated to Roseland only, Spanish speaking. Thank you for your consideration.
And is it $25,000?
Yes, it's approximately that much, yes.
Okay. Other comments, questions, thoughts? Go ahead.
Just a kind of a question about the JPA and the structure, our governing document there, and the agreement with the members. It seems to me that we're creating bit by bit a new branch in Roseland. And how does that affect the JPA? I'm wondering about that. I'm wondering if we need to take a look at that. Well, right? Don't we?
I've thought about that too. One thing that I think makes it easier if somehow we end up with a permanent library in Roseland is that the county is a member of the JPA, and right now it's in the county's territory, and then there's talk of Roseland being annexed by Santa Rosa, but then Santa Rosa is within our JPA as well. It'd be even more problematic if it was, somewhere in the county that we had no representation, but either way right now we do.
It doesn't take a vote of the members of the JPA for us to add branches?
I would have to look and see what the actual process is by which we would add a location. I don't know the answer to that right now.
We're the representatives of the JPA. The
JPA. As I understand it right now, the Roseland isn't a branch. We're not even close to that. It's another something. But so I guess what I'm saying is it's not. And as you explained it in Guerneville, when the question was asked you, Brett, it was we're in a temporary space. We just want to get our foot in the door, and that it seemed to me that's why you're a little loath to put a position there right now. As far as and I support this completely. I think a Spanish-speaking librarian, as a permanent person there, I would support that 100%. I just don't know if it's right immediately, and I think. You kind of answered that in Guerneville. If you could speak to that a little bit.
And yet with the staffing, I certainly put a lot of thought into it and talked to a lot of people because, there was various ways to do it. And initially when we were talking to some of the other partners, I thought that we may even have another agency because we knew all along it was probably going to be a joint use facility. So there was times when I even wondered if we would be sharing the space simultaneously with other agencies, and maybe another agency's staff would. I didn't know what it was going to look like at first. So maybe there'd be books in there, and another agency would turn those over, to people who came through the doors. So the staffing has definitely been a moving target, but I've thought about, doing it all with extra help and working with SEIU on that to see what they think about that. I do think right now that I want to get it started and see how it goes, see if our partners continue to commit. So I think that what we're talking about now from the staff's perspective of rotating 2 or 3 of our own folks through there each week along with extra help, to me that does feel like the right fit right now.
I have a question, but it just slipped out. I'll get to it in a minute.
And so I guess just to follow up on that, so maybe it would help to have some scenarios. So like in a year, look at this position again, and maybe it would be, as I understand it, and you know more about this than I do, but this is a temporary facility, and it's going to be tore down and rebuilt. So maybe in the future we're going to have really a real branch there. Is that? Yeah.
This is a temporary position. This is not. I'm not saying this is set from whatever the employee laws are or any of those things are fine. It's a temporary position. Well, I need to say to you, if we come out and say, well, in a year we're going to evaluate whether you get your own point person. I don't know what the reaction will be, but I don't think it will be favorable.
Would you speak to the mic, please?
I apologize for that. This is a temporary position, and this is like when we hire people on contract. We're going to say it's going to be from this time to this time because we only have temporary funding for the $90,000 for the year that we've put out. Politically, If we say, well, we're going to look at this, and in about a year we're going to have some programs, we're going to have a contact person for you. And again, it has no reflection on the staff that will be coming in. To me, it's a burden on the staff that would be coming in, but that's a whole other issue. It's $25,000. It's good faith. It's people in the community are questioning whether the library can respond to them, especially the person who raised the $21,000. This is a way to respond. And we won't be spending the whole 25 because there's the hiring, there's the process that goes with it. But I think an answer such as, well, we're just going to see in a year how this goes, I think it will come back to haunt us. And in answer to the supervisors are giving the space. The city of Santa Rosa is watching this. And perhaps what we need is for those people to come in and to tell us what they think about it. But I am saying to you, it's the right thing to do to respond to the community and say, we have one person here that you'll be talking to. And because otherwise the community, you're going to have people there that don't speak Spanish, and maybe that'll be fine. But it's only $25,000, and we have extra money. And I would also venture to say that in the end, given how the economy is, that there may be a little bit more than that left over. So,
okay.
Thank you.
All right. I have it came back in. Are we allowed one budget adjustment a year, or can we budget adjust whenever?
You can go crazy, I believe. No, there's no limit.
Also, with the other similar library services, the stations, and this is not a station, but with the stations, there is a branch manager who oversees that station. Who's going to be the branch manager for this kind of station?
I've asked that question too. I don't know if we've decided yet. Have we, Keo? We haven't decided yet.
So will it go to a branch manager probably?
I don't know.
Okay.
It would either be a branch manager or it would be Keo.
Okay. All right. So
can I
go ahead?
Can I chime in? I think you were, in my opinion, you were on a good track there for a second when you said that you heard a fair amount of consensus around a couple of these, and they are they come to $200,000. So I think just staff getting that level of I guess direction tonight is super helpful, and then I think that with that other $65,000, we can continue the conversation around that. But
that's where I was going.
But I think that we can kind of proceed on these other two items with the budget adjustment.
That's exactly where I was headed. So, essentially, we've given you directions about 1 and 2, yes. And we realize that there's around 65, and we're going to continue to discuss that.
Sounds good.
Okay, is that meet with approval for where people are? Yes, 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 no, okay, all right.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Public comment. You really have to do it for purely selfish reasons for me, because of my hearing.
I'm Kim Popenick. I'm a children's librarian at Northwest Library, and I just had an answer to the comment, why add service to Roseland? And I can't remember the exact figures, but I believe almost half the income for Sonoma County Libraries comes from unincorporated areas. And that is why we owe service to the people who provide money but don't have access to the library.
Thank you. All right.
No, wait. Anyone in Sonoma County can walk into any branch and check out an item. We have lots of people coming into Windsor Library that do not live in Windsor. And the same is true with Healdsburg.
Thank you, Rand. All right. Moving along to the strategic plan. I would preface our discussion about the strategic plan to say that my letter in the introduction has been edited moderately extensively. So this is not a letter that will appear in the final draft. I'll tell you that a piece of what I wanted to do in my editing was to reiterate that we are committed to traditional library as well as growing edges of library service. And that's something that I think is of concern to a lot of the people in the community. Okay, we've had a chance to look at it. Do you want to say anything in particular before we begin the discussion, Brett?
I just want to say that overall I've been very thankful for being able to participate in the process, and I am proud of the process. Even the consultants that we were working with, at some point were kind of like, oh my God, how much are you going to make us, continue to interact with the public? We think we have what we need. But I do think we really spent a good deal of time out in the community talking to people, and that's where the 5 themes, priorities came from, and then the staff have really worked very, very hard at taking those and turning those into things that we can do at the library to support those. So I think with this document, I really think that it will give very good direction to the staff as to what we want to become very, very good at with our limited resources. And I'm very proud that the community, at this point recognizes that strong finances are a cornerstone of what we need in place in order to continue to grow. So I was very pleased that emerged as one of our priorities, because that's reality. I mean, we really are going to have to focus a good deal of our energy in the next few years on getting our finances shored up. But I'm pleased with the document, and I'm eager to hear what you all think about it.
I think I would like to proceed along the same lines of people just running down the table and having people comment on parts that they would like to comment about, so that we all have a chance. I think we've seen this a couple of times, but I have one quick comment on page 5, which is page 63 of the document, of the packet. I think it would be better if we didn't call it the Springs, but called it by its name. I think it's Boys Hot Springs, isn't it? Oh.
Where are you, Tim?
Line 3. It says Roseland, objectives, number 3. Determine the need of library service underserved areas, Roseland, West County, and the Springs. Doesn't it have a more formal name?
There's 2 or 3 springs in that area.
Right. So page 5 of the strategic plan, page 63 of the packet. Very bottom of the page.
63, page 5.
Page.
Goal B, number 3.
Goal B, objective 3. Is there are a lot of springs? Okay, all right, so we'll keep the springs. All right, that was a minor thing. All right, Helena, did you have any things you wanted to?
I don't have any comment right now. It's a very detailed document, and I want to give it a little bit more time. Overall, I'm pleased and impressed with it, but I haven't done any grammatical or proofreading. So I just need a little more time. But I'll see you later in the week.
Linda, you pass?
I agree that I think the process has gone very well. I think there's been lots of community involvement, which I think was very, very important. And one of the things, I think it's in priority 5, if I'm not mistaken, just the financial health of the library as being a real priority, I think is an area that I'd like to make sure we focus on and flesh out a little bit more. I don't have any detailed comments about that right now, other than to say that's something that's of import, I think, that we need to make sure we focus on. is that particular goal and area?
I focused in on priority 2 and goal B. I've always thought that the library is and should continue in the future a place for lifelong learning, and so I'm really pleased to see that under goal B, objective 2, create a coordinated comprehensive literacy service program, including reading, financial, information, health, and digital literacy to increase literacy levels countywide. I think that should be in bold. That's my personal opinion. But I think this is a good... Why? Yeah, what do we need literacy for? Anyway. But I think the document is really good, and I think it showed a lot of work, and it really did show a lot of people's input. So I think it's a really positive step.
Paul? Yeah. Well, it was a pleasure to work on this with, a whole group of people and bringing this to fruition. But the thing that really, if there's, if the middle of this whole thing where you provide people, we're calling it, what did we call it? We called it customer sustainability. Was that it? What's the middle driver? The customer experience.
Right.
I believe that if you provide good customer service to everybody that walks in that door and you treat them like you want them to come in, the financial sustainability will come, the community engagement will come, the innovation, and the whole model will be driven by that of treating people like they're the most important game in town. Everything else will fall in place. That's what I believe. And I think that, I also think that Brett did a really good job growing in this process where he, I saw it in the all-staff day, it's like, getting people to share in this process. And to me, that's part of the model of the customer experience of getting people to buy into customer service. If it starts at the top of the food chain, and in this case, we're talking about management at the top of this library. If everybody can move in that direction, all this stuff will happen. I believe that. That's all.
Randall?
I really appreciated all the real statistics in the middle of the package with age groups and number of cards and all that fun stuff. That's a lot of information I didn't have. Like we have 220,000 cards outstanding. I thought that was particularly valuable information. Toward the end of the document, you have the consumer behaviors and lifestyles with the tapestry segments, and I felt that was pretty pretentious and silly. I mean, the information is good. It's just the titles seem to be silly. But overall, I really enjoyed this document.
I really liked it too, and I liked the statistics at the end. And I kind of like playing with stuff like that. So, and this one's picky, and maybe I'm wrong, but on page 61, under the introduction, in that second sentence, this plan emerged through a series of community meetings, and it says residents, friends, library advisory boards, foundation members, library employees, and volunteers. Didn't the commission do something along that line?
Where are you?
Page
61.
61 of the packet. Introduction. Second sentence. Starts over on the right-hand side. This plan emerged through a series of community meetings. Blah, 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 blah. But didn't we do something in here where the results group came in and did a... Yes. I mean...
I still haven't found your sentence, but under acknowledgments, the first sentence says literally hundreds of people contributed to the creation of the strategic plan, community members, library staff, friends, library foundation members, library commissioners, and others.
Yeah, I know you did up there, but I mean, we were
What paragraph
included
are
in
you
that, those meetings that you, under the introduction.
Okay.
The first sentence?
Second sentence,
Okay.
where it starts, this plan. It's the last
Okay.
two words, second line, right-hand side.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
That's just my oversight then. I'll put shall in there
like I
too.
said, it's nothing, but I thought we had done something.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
I'm thinking, okay.
Yeah, thank you.
And then the other thing, and this is, again, I have to say, I read it this afternoon, so, I read through my packet from beginning to end. But some of the performance measures, when you gave a date, it seemed like you had an awful lot in the next 6 to 9 months.
Yeah, I thought about that.
And I didn't know if some of that needed to be relooked at. I mean, and that's just my question.
No, that's a good point.
So, nothing in particular at all, just I wondered. So, but really good job. I really enjoyed reading it, and I learned a lot.
Brett's, Reese's point is a really big deal because when you can promise doable guidelines and then you meet them, it's a bigger win than when you promise them the world and you don't meet a deadline and then you...
Yeah, I really need to look at those guys.
So
I was
you might-
thinking the same thing. I was seeing 2015 and 16 quite a bit, so that's a good point. Thanks, Reese.
I think this is a really great document. I'm really pleased with it. It incorporates so many of the things that we've talked about along the way in the process. I'm very happy to see the concrete performance measures, so they're measurable outcomes. My only hesitation is I'm sure a lot of this hinges on finances. So I'm hopeful.
Okie dokie. Any public comment about the strategic plan? Let the record note. All right. That said, do you have enough from us? And you'll present us another draft then next month, so it's now not, it'll be November for adoption? But, okay. And Helena said she will be getting to you. Okay. Moving on to item number 12, the holiday schedule. This clearly wasn't on the consent calendar, so do we yet want to chime in one more time on the holiday schedule? Questions about, particularly the past has been Saturdays before holidays and so forth.
I would say that maybe we should wait until next time when we see if the Saturdays kick into this at all, or maybe approve it up until July. Am I reading this correctly? The holiday schedule.
Right.
We talked about being able to be open some Saturdays before a major holiday, and that was going to be budgeted to see if we're going to do that or not.
I believe
But
the
it's because it's tier 2.
The finance committee recommended keeping the status quo.
All right.
Is that
Yes.
my memory?
Okay.
That's what we okay.
Thank you for the clarification.
All right. Any other comments about the holiday schedule, proposed holiday schedule? Any public comment about the proposed holiday schedule? No thumbs? All right. I will invite a motion. Does someone want to move to adopt the holiday schedule?
I move.
All right.
Second.
Did you get it? Was Paul and Paul?
The Paul.
Paul and Paul? Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right. The holiday schedule has been approved. All right. Do we have some appointments for? All right. Does somebody want to recommend?
I'll move we accept the library youth lab appointments for Santa Rosa.
All right, a second?
I'll second that.
Any comment, questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right. I believe we're now at items to include in the commission notes. I might note, well, we'll get there next. All right, anything, I think we need to say we've approved 2 new positions, or the proposal of 2 new, but we haven't approved them yet, but the proposal. We've looked at the strategic plan, which is online to go. When will this come out?
The strategic plan?
No, the
note.
The notes. So it would not be probably useful to do the summit. It might come out after the summit. Right. Okay. Anything else from tonight's meeting that we've approved a holiday schedule? Yes, Paul?
When we were talking about the Tier 1 and the Tier 2, and we seemed like we were pretty unanimous on spending a couple $100,000 on those first 2 positions. And when could we approve those by?
When can we have that as those as proposals? October meeting, is that?
Yes, the next meeting, October.
And we could, and then at that time, we could approve those and we could get that going?
Right.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
Anything else for the lab notes? I know you've all closed your briefcases, but just a couple more minutes.
No.
What?
I would say mango is kind of exciting.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Mango. All right. And with the thanks to Sonoma. Okay, any other agrees? Okay. Mike.
How about joining sustainability circles?
Okay.
And putting something in about that? I think that would be good.
Okay, can you get to Rebecca about that?
Sure.
She has it? Rebecca has it? Okay. Anything else for the notes?
I mean, I think we talked about the $200,000, but I don't know if, I think we need to make sure that we mention that there's additional tax revenue.
Okay.
And then I think it'd be nice to include a few facts about the collection. Which facts those happen to be, I'll leave to Rebecca and David and Kathy. Just a couple of little factoids to brighten things up.
Well, and if I got the idea, you were thinking about some things to go on either the web page or something like that, some alerting about that when and if it's planned. Okay? Anything else? I will note that the next meeting is like only 2 weeks away. Just so you know, because of Labor Day. Somebody bawled me out about that, about the schedule, and I said I had nothing to do with Labor Day.
Looks like it's the same next year, too.
All right. Okay. Yes.
Are we having a closed session before that next meeting?
I believe you had wanted to have a closed session. Yes, we'll have a closed session.
So we'll get revised meeting time?
Yes.
Or will it?
We'll get a revised meeting time. What time? 5:30 for closed session. All right. The meeting is adjourned.
You still texting?
Is this a real morgue?
Yep.
Shut up. Like with real dead people. Ooh, I gotta text Ashley.
Ashley identified you when you wrapped your car around that light pole because you was caring more about that thing than the road.
I knew she liked me.
Not anymore.
No text message is worth a life.
Over 90 miles of creeks run through Santa Rosa. Runoff from streets, roofs, and parking lots end up in our creeks through the storm drain system. To help protect creeks, keep your street gutters and roadside ditches clear of trash and other pollutants. For more information on the benefits of our creeks and tips on how to enjoy them, visit the Stormwater and Creeks webpage.
You still texting?
Busy. Where we at?
County morgue?
Not on my schedule.
You scheduled it when you T-boned that minivan and sent 2 people to the hospital. Guess she's paying more attention to that thing than the road.
Making sure my wife picks up my suit.
Sounds like a text message that just couldn't wait.